following is a presentation of Fox Sports Northwest.
Last week, the Eastern Washington Eagles took the Big Sky Conference's #1 offense into Missoula and beat the University of Montana Grizzlies. Now they'll defend the Big Sky Conference lead against the Idaho State Bengals. It's next on Fox Sports Northwest. Welcome to Woodward Stadium on the campus of Eastern Washington University in Cheney, Washington. Today, Fox Sports Northwest brings you the Big Sky Conference Game of the Week. The 11th ranked Eagles of Eastern Washington University take on the Bengals of Idaho State. Hi everybody, I'm Todd Pickett. Along with Don Reed, we welcome you to Cheney and our live Big Sky Game of the Week with a new look atop the Big Sky Conference ratings. It's the Eastern Washington Eagles, number 11 in the country, number 1 in the Big Sky after a big win over the University of Montana a week ago. At 6-1, the Eagles are off to their best start ever. How big a win was it over Montana? Well, they end the Grizz 13-game Big Sky streak, 30 games at home, roll up 650 yards and give up just 49 yards rushing, Don. A pair of walk-ons are leading Eastern to their success, former walk-ons.
Of course, we're talking about Harry Leon's the quarterback, and Jeff Ogden, the receiver. Harry goes up the sideline in a big gain and a big play against the Grizzlies.
Eastern Washington has an explosive offense, number 1 in the conference, number 2 in the NCAA. They also rush the ball very well. 2 potential NFLers, Ackerman and Buzzard on the right side for Rex Prescott.
Boy, they are good ones. They come off the football and move that line of scrimmage, and Prescott has room to run.
And the Bengals will have to face a very tough Eastern Washington University defense. That defense for the Eagles is anchored by their middle linebacker, Derek Stry, one of the top career tacklers in Eastern history, and Ed Harris, high on the sack list as well as Eastern. It's the Eagles and the Bengals coming your way next, right here on Fox Sports Northwest. And we welcome you back to Woodward Stadium in Cheney, Eastern Washington. Idaho State just about ready to get things started. The Eagles will kick off to the Bengals to open up our contest. You see some of the fall colors here in the inland northwest of Eastern Washington. And the weather today in Cheney in the mid-40s, just a very mild wind, partly cloudy. In fact, the clouds starting to lift a little bit after a somewhat foggy morning. Tom Walsh in his first year as the head coach at Idaho State, after 13 years as an assistant with the Raiders and 1 year at U.S. International. Mike Kramer in his 4th season as the head coach at Eastern Washington, a career mark of 19-21. Eagles set to kick things off. Josh Atwood getting it underway. A short kick taken by one of the up men for Idaho State. That's Ben Simpson. And Simpson out over the 35-yard line. Check that, it's Nick Whitworth returning the ball for Idaho State. And the Bengals get pretty good field position, something that might help a little bit in bringing a backup quarterback in Gary Anderson in. But Don, for our viewers who've watched Big Sky games before, he's a guy who's been around this Idaho State program for a long time.
He really has. That was a fine return, a short kick, of course, but they have good field position.
You see the numbers for Anderson, not getting a lot of time and not throwing the ball well. That has been a problem the Bengals have had all season as a team, however. They look to run as much as possible. Short gainer for Kennedy Nikiasen off the right side. We take a look at the starting offense now for the Bengals across the front. New faces, a lot of JC transfers. A.G., Ayala, Corder, Cavillo, and Love across the front. Elgon, Nikiasen, McBride, Delancey, and Erst are the guys that will be handling the ball today. No gain on that first carry for Nikiasen, and now a 3 wide receiver look this time for the Bengals. Try to run a little delay draw, and a big hole for Anthony Elgon. Breaks it over midfield and deep into the secondary. Finally knocked down with a touchdown-saving tackle inside the Eastern 25-yard line. Jimmy Lake, the strong safety, coming across to make the play. And Elgon, Don, it's kind of he was waiting for contact that never came.
Todd, let's look at this thing again. What a play, a draw look. Just base blocking, nice run, breaks to the outside. Eastern's having all kinds of problems getting off blocks, and it's just a great run, big play. What a momentum starter for Idaho State.
They'll mark it at the 18, give him a little bit extra there on the play. And a first down there for Idaho State. Big gain there coming against the team that is number 1 against the rush, giving up just over 81 yards a game. Try to slide it out again, and this time the Eagles fill the gaps very well. Avant Grant leading the tacklers that time for Eastern Washington, along with the middle linebacker Derek Stry. Here's a look for Eastern across the front four: Matson, Scott, Grant, and Harris. In the linebacking core, Guillory, a veteran, along with Stry and Britt Lentz. And in the secondary, McClary, Franklin, Perigo, and Lake. No gain on that play for Elgon, a sophomore from Pocatello. Anderson looking for the end zone. Ernst pushing off the defender, couldn't make the catch along the sideline. Got away with a little bit of a shove, covered there by the left corner, LeVar McClary.
Here's the isolation, Todd, and a real nice throw, really a nice route. Ball's in the air, just a good play against the sideline, just a little fly pattern. Eastern Washington lined up in a 3-deep zone to defend that.
Anderson, another hometowner from Highland High in Pocatello, and forced into a passing situation once again. Twin backs this time, Nikiasen to the right, Elgon to the left. Trying to get some protection for him. Over the middle, open man tight end, dragged down, first and goal at the 5-yard line. Abe Wettig, the backup tight end, makes the reception. That's the first catch of the season for Wettig, who transferred from Riverside Community College, and boy, was it a big one for Idaho State.
What a big play it was, and kind of a semi-scramble. Anderson does a nice job of finding the receiver open in that middle zone. Actually, it was man-to-man cover, but there's somebody loose, and he makes the play.
LeVar McClary on the tackle, but it's going to come back now. We've got a flag that came very late. Let's get the call on the play. Our referee today, Robert Salviano Jr.
Boy, that really hurt, Todd. Really hurt Idaho State, because they had first and goal, and now they're in a situation they're in the 35-yard line. Third down.
3rd and 27 now for the Bengals. And they'll just try to run the safe draw. Nikiasen going nowhere. Eagles able to get off the blocks that time, and Steve Matson, 6th on the career sack list as well for the Eagles. He was having nothing of that play for Nikiasen. Rest of the officiating crew we'll talk about in just a second as we watch this replay.
Just a little deep handoff here, but Eastern just doing a nice job along the line of scrimmage, flowing and pursuing. They're awfully tough along the front anyway. Playing real conservative, though, playing 2-deep zone back there.
Now the Bengals are going to try the long one here. At least they've lined up this way. 53-yard attempt for James Farrell, who's 9 for 9 inside the 50, his longest 49-yarder, and now they'll pooch it after getting the Eagles to come up. Chance to run this one a little bit as Maurice Perigo goes back and makes a nice catch, gets a few yards out of the play, and will take it to the 15. So everybody's happy. The Bengals get it inside the 20, and the Eagles hold, and they'll have the ball there. Interesting situation, but Farrell, of course, has been the punter in years past for the Bengals, although he doesn't have those duties this season.
I wonder what would have happened, Todd, had Eastern not put someone back, trying to go for the block, for example, if it would have materialized into a pass play.
Eagles will come out on the field for the first time, and Harry Leons will step in to take things over for Eastern Washington. The senior from Olympia who's been real key to this offense's success this year. That's Lance Ballou in motion, and they'll run it with Prescott off the right side. Big hole on the first play. Keeps his balance. He could go. Will they haul him down? Good pursuit in the secondary. He gets away from another one. One man to try to catch, and he is gone. First play, 85 yards. Touchdown, Rex Prescott. Well, I guess they can open a hole on the right side, Don.
We talked about it, Todd, and boy, did they do it. Fine run. Fine run.
This potent rushing attack for Eastern Washington. They average over 221 yards a game on the ground, so they're better than a third of the way there after one snap of the ball.
And every time Prescott touches the ball, it's about 6 yards or 6 yards plus. He's a fine back.
Josh Atwood, who has the school record of 31 straight point afters, set to attempt. Aaron Best, the snapper for the Eagles. Ogden is the holder. And Eastern Washington gets on the board in a hurry. Eagles make a stand after Idaho State appeared to have a first and goal. What a turnaround of events. And on one play, Prescott goes 85 for the score. Eagles out to the early lead. 3.5 minutes gone here in Cheney. Back in Cheney, and the Eagle fans are certainly happy. Their team on top of the standings, and a big run for Rex Prescott, 85 yards, first time he touches the ball. You see, 5th longest in Eastern history. A young man continues to pile up his totals. He averages about 120 yards a game, so he's well on that way. Whitworth back deep, and a line drive kickoff this time by the Eagles. Almost looked as though it were mishit by Atwood, and it'll go out of bounds, and Idaho State will have good field position again. Well, while we've got a second, we see Robert Salviano Jr., our referee. Rest of the crew today: Mike Feldman, the head linesman; Bruce Palmer, the field judge; Lou Tosti, the umpire; Jim Wolf, the line judge; Scott Marchand is the back judge today, and they'll spot the ball in the 35 after that out-of-bounds kickoff. And Tom Walsh has to go back into the bag here a little bit. This is a case where you don't let your team get rattled, and perhaps an advantage again in having Anderson, the senior, coming in.
That's true, Todd. This drive will be very important to their morale and their momentum and their psychology and all those other things.
Well, this is a team that just has not had a lot of success on offense so far. They scored 46 points last week in their win. That's more points than they scored in their first 5 games of the season. Elgon spinning out of the grasp of the tackler. He'll take it up close to the 40-yard line. Brought down there by Avant Grant. Stry also helping on it, as you see Anthony Elgon. We've got 4 of the top 8 rushers in the conference in this game. Eastern Washington has numbers 1 and 2 in Prescott and McKenzie, but for Idaho State, Nikiasen is 7th and Elgon is 8th, so they're getting some good production from those 2 young men. Call it second and a short 6 after a gain of 4 from the tailback. Nikiasen spins, gets into secondary again. I like the way he moves, and he's got good leg drive. Don, he'll pick up the first down at midfield.
Well, that was a very impressive run. Good body tilt, good balance. He made a nice spin. Here it is again. They're giving him the ball deep. You get plenty of chance to find a place to run. Look at this run, though. Great balance. He is a good back.
Jimmy Lake, the last guy to pop him, young man from Regina, Saskatchewan. You think there's a few CFL teams that would like to get their hands on this guy?
I believe it. That was just an ISO run. Very, very well done.
The junior takes it out to the 50-yard line. He has 10 yards, and he and Elgon have combined for 58 yards rushing already. It's Elgon this time, and again threads through some tacklers down to about the 45 before he's brought down. Justin Guillory on the stop for Eastern Washington.
The Bengals aren't fancy in what they're doing, Todd, at all in terms of the pro set or the slot look and the tight end all the time, 2 backs. But right now, their execution looks very good. For a team that's not scoring a lot of points, they look good.
Well, and they've got to be encouraged, Don. They had a good drive the first time. The penalty set it apart, and they're moving the ball well again here. Elgon once again. Good block, sprang a couple extra yards for him, and he will be just short, it appears, of the first down, depending on where they spot the ball for him. Got a pretty favorable spot once again. Maurice Perigo coming off the pile for Eastern, along with Guillory and Grant. And we'll have a timeout for a measurement. Now it looks real close after that spot. Anthony Elgon, who's gotten off to a pretty good start rushing here in the first quarter, started as a reserve outside linebacker last year, started his Idaho State career, also was on special teams, and then got moved to the offensive side of the ball. Tom Walsh really had to do a lot in a hurry here, Don. He had just 25 players who had ever lettered in college football coming into this season, and only 37 kids in spring practice. You see they're short by inches. He's really had to do a reclamation project more than a rebuild, and do it in a hurry.
Well, that's true. He inherited a situation where a lot of work has to be done, and he knows it, and it's not a one-year type project. It's a long-range project, but he's going about it right. They have a good staff. It's a fine institution, a good program, so Idaho State will be back.
I think the thing we like when we talked with him before the game, he's instituted a weight program, which surprisingly the Bengals did not have workouts going for their kids. They've stressed academics and worked very hard at emphasizing that. And he's got his recruiting already going in the right direction as well.
You're right in all those cases, Todd. They're doing things right.
Elgon the single back on 3rd and inches. Anderson on the keeper. Stood up, but he should have enough for the first down. They'll spot it at the 40, and he'll have about an extra half yard to pick up another first down for Idaho State.
A lot of the Eastern fans are disagreeing with it, Todd, but it was pretty obvious.
Got pretty good line surge there from the guys up front, Quarter, Calvillo, and Ayala. All three of them, the center and the 2 guards, junior college transfers.
Idaho State is surprisingly big up front. They have nice size. They are capable of moving the football via the ground.
Well, they did a good job finding those JC kids in a short hurry. I mean, they didn't have even their standard recruiting time to do it. Elgon carrying once again, gets about a yard this time. Stry shot the gap nicely from the middle linebacker spot.
Here's the line here. Get a good look at the get off, the play itself. Eastern, however, is well disciplined, well schooled in terms of sliding and filling and playing the kind of football along the front they need to play to be ahead in the Big Sky.
The numbers here early for Elgon. Generally averages about 4.5 a carry. He had that big 44-yarder. They'll try to run the draw with him again. He was able to get away from Guillory, who was coming from his linebacker position. Stacked up for a short gain. Stryan on a stop once again for Eastern.
Eastern had a late change in their coverage and, of course, went to a blitz. Look at the handoff here. It's a nice cutback. Not a lot of room to run, though.
I think Guillory kind of filled, 28 kind of filled that hole where Nikiasen, or rather Elgon, wanted to go. And Nikiasen wasn't able to get a lead block for him either. Gerald Franks, a reserve wide receiver at the bottom of your screen. Nikiasen's in the slot to the left of the line. They need to get it to the 30-yard line of Eastern. Wide open, Nikiasen makes a shoestring catch, but he only gains 2 yards, and he needed to get another 5. That's a little miscommunication there, I think. He was wide open, but you definitely want to get a little bit deeper in the pattern there.
Well, no question about it. It was interesting because Eastern was in man cover, and yet he had no one covering him in that particular play. Interesting. I think Eastern blew an assignment.
And they get away with it. That's the scary thing for them. Perigo back deep. On to punt, Ben Simpson, a freshman redshirt from Pocatello, with a fine 40.2-yard average. Tries to pooch this one in towards the corner, and he'll get it out around the 14-yard line. That's where they'll spot it, and Eastern Washington will take over there. Well, they got it at the 15 the first time. It took them 1 play to score. This time the Eagles will have it at the 14 when we return midway through the first quarter. And we welcome you back to Cheney. Eastern Washington on top of Idaho State by a 7-0 score. Harry Leon's getting set to bring the offensive unit back out on the field again. The senior from Olympia, guy who just, he doesn't look good when you think about towering, physical, imposing specimens. He just goes out and beats you, gets the things done that you need to get done.
And he's been improving game after game. His efficiency rate, there you can get a look at him. He's a quarterback that probably is never going to get a lot of publicity, but he makes a lot of big plays.
Top-rated quarterback in the Big Sky Conference and 4th in all of Division I AA. Idaho State coaches are hollering on first down. Leon scrambling a bit, now looking over the middle, finds his man there for a first down. Jeff Ogden, leading receiver for the Eastern Eagles, and he'll get the first down out over the 25-yard line. Rest of the offense now for Eastern Washington. Lance Knabelsrud on the left side, John Kane, Kevin Peterson. Ackerman back. Great story, his first start of the year. We'll tell you more about him. And Buzzard, a big hoss on the right side as well. The other half of the Knabelsrud twins, Tyson is at the tight end, Prescott in the backfield, and then a great trio of wide receivers with Mitchell, Correa, and Ogden. A lot of speed there. Eagles at their own 27 after that 13-yard play. Prescott off the right side. He'll get another 4 or 5 before he's brought down. Mike Fullwood, Cassie Brown leading the tacklers for Idaho State. We take a look at the Bengals defensive lineup. Driscoll, Fullwood, Brown, and Hayden across the front for ISU. In the backer core, Telly Lockett, solid player, great first team Big Sky Conference player for Idaho State. And then Maycock, Barnes, Bell, who we profiled off the top, and Trotter in the secondary for Idaho State. Gain of 4 on that play for Prescott. Ogden, the motion man. Prescott through the right side once again, wrapped up, looked as though he had a lot of daylight, and then Jason Meters slid out from the backer position to haul him down. Young man getting a start at the middle linebacker, a freshman and an all-state player from Pocatello High School. There's Rex Prescott. His average plummeting with every carry here.
Boy, he's
after
a good back.
One.
But you know, McKenzie, the number 2 back, is not a long ways behind him, Todd. Another quality running back in this Eastern team.
Yeah, Prescott missed one game, was shaken up a little bit, but he and McKenzie were just 39 yards apart rushing coming into today's game. 3rd and 3 for the Eagles after those 2 carries. Leon stumbling a bit as he backpedals, but finds Ogden. First down inside the 50-yard line, but they'll take it out to about the 47 as he gets a 13-yard gain. Big game last week for Jeff Ogden. 6 catches, 217 yards, 3 touchdowns as he was named the player of the week, and a lot of speed, as we said, Don.
You bet. Stumble on the drop just a little, but a nice throw to Ogden. Bell is trying to cover him, but he's giving him a lot of room.
Leon's a little bit of a chat there. There's Mike McKenzie in the lineup for the first time, and as we said, there's not much drop off there. Little fake to McKenzie, one-on-one chance now for Ogden. Breaks through the tackle of Bell and picks up a first down at the Idaho State 41-yard line.
Idaho State trying to give Eastern a lot of pressure with 5 men on the front, 6 sometimes coming, and Eastern doing the right things in terms of dumping the ball off to a wide receiver or to a back out of the backfield to beat that quick pressure.
Well, it's a big fall in the Inland Northwest. You saw the score there from Pullman, a big game in the Pac-10 today. When's the last time the Big Sky and the Pac-10 leaders were both in the Eastern Washington area, but Arizona, a team which has given Washington State fits, out on top of the Cougars early in Pullman. McKenzie carrying the ball for the first time. This guy averaging over 6 yards a carry, the junior from Vancouver, British Columbia. And the thing that's nice about it for Mike Kramer is that Rex Prescott, a guy who's prone to getting banged up a little bit smaller, is able to stay healthy because of McKenzie helping to carry the ball.
They use both these backs very well. They're different kind of runners, but they're both extremely productive.
McKenzie second in the conference in rushing, carries the ball about 16 times a game and scored 6 touchdowns. He's got 6 scores to 2 for Prescott. Well, and Rex, of course, pricking up his 3rd on the 85-yard run the first time he touched the ball. Correa, the motion man this time. McKenzie, nice cutback, and gets knocked down just inside the Idaho State 35-yard line.
Little counter play, Todd, with the backside pulls, and it's just a matter of staying behind those big linemen. You see him here, the tackle and the guard both pulling to the right. McKenzie jumping right up in there behind him. Nice job by Idaho State filling, though.
Looked like a little bit of a hold the Eagles might have gotten away with, and then Jason Trotter, the strong safety, came up to make that stop. Another 3rd down for the Eagles. A look there at Mike Kramer. As we said, his 4th season as the head man here at Eastern. They need to get it just to the 31-yard line. Easy slant in and another first down, another catch for Ogden, and right now Leons and Ogden are just kind of playing pitch and catch, Don.
Well, they are, and they're picking on Idaho State's best defender, so to speak, in Bell, and it's one-on-one. It's all man cover, and right now Eastern's winning the battle.
14 more yards on that play. There you see the numbers for Jeff Ogden. Young man whose brother had to talk Mike Kramer into letting him come onto the squad.
Yes, he did. And you know something? The thing about Ogden is not only is he a good receiver, but when he gets open, he can run. I mean, he's got great speed.
Started his career as a pole vaulter at Clackamas Community College in the Portland area. First down for Eastern. McKenzie once again, and a big hole left, but a flag thrown should come back on a hold against Eastern. Bell leading the tacklers for Idaho State, but let's see what our call is on this one. That's why the hole was there.
Well, and Eastern runs that zone. We talked about it a year ago. We did telecast right here, Todd. They run that zone blocking where the line actually moves to the right or the left in unison, and it's easy for an official to see that line moving and someone grabbing somebody. Here's a look at it here, going to their left. You see 73 there, you see 58, you see 85, all moving to their left. It's a nice hole, a lot of room to run, and a good run by McKenzie, but somewhere along the line, somebody held.
Looks as they might have caught Scott Johnson, 95, the backup tight end. And he's a guy who's supposed to know better. He's an all-academic Big Sky selection, so yeah. they'll review that when they take the ball back out to the 28-yard line, and a first down and about 17 there for the Eagles. McKenzie slides that one back inside to get an extra couple of yards. Bengals really doing a nice job that time of stringing it along, so to speak.
Well, you're right, Todd. They're playing hard. They came in motivated. It's tough when you're not winning to play like this. They're playing very good football at this point in time. Nice job of pursuing along the line of scrimmage. Good fill from the secondary. Nice job by the Bengals.
Pete Beecher, a young man not even listed on the 2-deep, but getting some playing time, a junior from Brigham City, Utah, in on the tackle that time for the Bengals with an assist from linebacker Michael Gary. Inside 2 minutes now in this first quarter. Leon's with a little bit of pressure, but snakes away from it again and then underthrows his intended receiver along the sideline. Trying to find Joe Mitchell that time and left it just a little bit short, but a good scramble to avoid the sack.
Well, it sure was. And, you know, he does a lot of things like we said before. He's not flashy, but, boy, he makes things happen. I'm a little surprised the Bengals staying in man cover and doing a good job with it. But this Eastern receiver core has so much speed. It'll be interesting to see if they can match up for very long.
McKenzie checks out. Prescott checks in on this 3rd and 13. Eagles have converted both of their third down situations so far today. Under some pressure, nice spin to get away from the backer, looking for the home run ball in the end zone and 2 deep. Tried to find Ogden there, and it might have been to Eastern's advantage that he did overthrow that because 2 defenders were there.
Yes, and of course Bell is playing a man-to-man, and they were double up on him deep that time. Here's the matchup. Here's the drop now. Pressure, quick pressure, spilling to his left. Gets the ball away, but obviously way overthrown intentionally, I think.
Nice scrambling ability by Leons. Josh Atwood will come on to attempt a 42-yard field goal attempt. This would be a season long for him. His longest so far is 29, but he's only kicked 2 times, attempted 2 times over 30 yards so far this season. Ogden is the holder for him. And from 42, he appears to be wide right, and he is. Had the length, but didn't have the accuracy. So Idaho State holds, and the Bengals will take over with 1:36 to play in the first quarter. Eastern Washington 7 and Idaho State nothing. Eastern Washington University, our site for this week's Big Sky Conference Game of the Week. Woodward Stadium, the home of the Eagles. They'll play 1 game in Spokane later this year, their big showdown rivalry with Idaho. But that's a non-conference game these days for the Eagles, and right now they want to protect the Big Sky lead as they take on an Idaho State team that's hanging tough with them here so far in the first quarter. And ISU has given some other teams some close games, most notably Montana State, another one of the league contenders, and they lost a 1-point game to them.
Well, I can see why now after seeing them for the first time, Todd. They sure play hard. They're well coached and they're playing hard.
And they take over the ball now at the 25 after the field goal miss. Nikiasen just met head on by Stride. Nobody got near the middle linebacker, and that was just a wide open path and a wide open invitation for the young man who's number 3 on the career tackles list and leads this Eagle defense this season.
Here's a look at that draw play, hand off deep. There's just nowhere to run, just no place to run. Eastern doing a great job.
You saw the missed assignment, though. The young man coming off the line, watches. He tries to get a hat on, and he's way too late. The wide receiver never got to him. Actually, it's McBride, a tight end, and Stride just waltzed in. Got to get to him a little quicker there. Loss of 2 on that play. Anderson under some pressure again, stepped up nicely, flag thrown on the play. He completes it to McBride, but let's see what happens on this one. In the area where we'd expect to hold once again.
Anderson finds a nice hole to throw it in against that Eastern zone. Eastern's mixing the cover up real well with 2 deep, single cover. 3 deep and some man.
That's the call against Idaho State. We'll watch it once again. And look on the right side of your screen. Look at 77 Agee. We think it might have been there as he steps out of the play. We'll watch him right here.
Nice job. Yes, it must have been.
It looks like they threw the other direction. On the right side of the line there might have been Love or Calvillo. So, but anyway, it's a hold no matter what.
But a nice job, Todd, by Anderson moving to his left and stepping up in to avoid that pressure.
they'll bring it back either direction. And the thing to note on that, too, Anderson was getting under some pressure with a minimal rush by Eastern. They're not really running any stunts or anything. They're just coming straight ahead right now.
Just a four-man rush.
And collapsing the pocket in a hurry on him. Nikiasen, not a lot of room that time either, as Eastern just kind of stands him up and sort of gang tackles in the end. So the Bengals have really sort of shot themselves in the foot here with a couple of penalties at key situations. Remember, they had it 1st and goal on their opening drive and had it brought back, and now this one's going to bottle them up deep. Gary Anderson's coming over to the sidelines because we're going to run out of time here in the first quarter, and he'll get a chance to talk to his coach, and together they will take this break between quarters to figure out what they're going to do with a 3rd and 22 situation deep in their own territory. Prescott went 85 on the first carry of the game for Eastern. That's been all our scoring in the opening quarter. The Eagles lead the Bengals 7-0. This is the Big Sky Game of the Week on Fox Sports Northwest. Welcome back to Cheney, Washington. Set to start our second quarter. Idaho State 3rd and 22 as we begin play. Jackson Ernst, the man in motion. They need to get out to the 35-yard line, and they jump off sides to further compound the problem. That kind of sums it up right there. Some of the frustrations that you go through in a long season.
False start on the offense, 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
Well, you know, they have a different quarterback out there today. It sometimes makes a difference, and trying hard, make everything go. Sometimes when you try to force something, you have more mistakes than you do, and you just let it hang out.
Now, he should reset the clock as well. Interesting to see if they'll do that, because in theory, and I think that's what Robert Salviano Jr. had said, the ball was never snapped, so it should go back to 15 minutes even. And that's what we're kind of waiting for right now. He gave the instructions to reset. There we go. Got it back, and we're at 15 minutes even on the scoreboard clock, and we'll get our Fox box caught up. Look at that. Our guys are right on top of it. We're ready to roll. Good work, guys. 3rd and 27 now. They'll run the draw. Elgon into the secondary, but stopped it around the 15-yard line. Jimmy Lake leading the tacklers for Eastern Washington that time. Now, Don, the interesting question here, of course, is whether you go ahead and try to set up for your return, or whether with Idaho State back deep, you take a little bit of a gamble here. But the Eagles are dropping 2 into the return area, so they'll try to rely on a good return against Ben Simpson. There's a look at Perigo. Correa is also back deep with him. An interesting alignment here for the Eagles. Just 4 guys on the line and 5 completely off the ball, about 5 yards back, Don.
They are definitely playing fake or return on this play, no question about it. Nice punt.
As we said, the young man averages 40. Little fight for the ball. Correa finally takes it at about the 29-yard line. Gets hauled down over the 43. That's, let's see, a 56-yard punt I make it for Ben Simpson.
Nice punt, good coverage. One of the strong aspects of the Bengal program right now is their special teams, and that was a fine example there in their punting situation. And Eastern was playing, it looked like, for the return.
Eagles in good field position. We will be telling you a little bit more about this Eastern squad as time goes along. They had a special award given to one of their players today. And actually 3 players in the Big Sky Conference now have received this Scholar Athlete Award. Eagles now have it at the, they'll call it the 42 officially. Leon's looking deep this time, has all day. Good coverage on his intended primary receiver, so he comes back finally and finds Mitchell. Don, he was trying to find Jeff Ogden, and he was covered all the way along the line that time by Leon Maycock. Quick reminder now, we're going to tell you we'll be with you in 2 weeks from Portland at Civic Stadium. The Portland State Vikings will take on the Montana Grizzlies, and you'll be able to see that one live under the lights from Civic. That comes 2 weeks from today, right here on Fox Sports Northwest. A lot of poise that Harry Leon shows. Had plenty of time, of course, but he came back to find another receiver on that play.
Well, right, Todd. It was a play-action pass, and it wasn't there, so he scrambled to his right and made it happen. He is doing a fine job, as he usually does.
Prescott back in. Boy, he slid outside so nicely to create extra space. Bell lines him up and takes him out of bounds at the 31-yard line. That's another 20 yards, but Prescott went laterally to help slide into the hole that time.
Big time move. No question about it. Here's the play again. The ball handed off in their power. He makes the move, starts upfield, then breaks the outside, gets to the sideline, and turns into a big gain. But you're right, that one move right on the line of scrimmage, right there, was a big league move.
Just that double hop. 4 carries, 112 yards now for Prescott. That's a good omen for Eastern. Why? When he rushes for 100 yards or more, the Eagles are 7-0, including 4-0 this year. And you see the difference in total yardage so far. Much of that coming from for Idaho State on their very first drive. Prescott closing in on the number 4 career mark. In fact, has a chance with his great start to move up into that spot this afternoon. He needed 160 yards coming in to today. And you see he's already now at 115 and continuing to pile it up.
He's not very big, but boy, is he talented.
Well, that's what Mike Kramer wanted to do, is to keep him healthy going into November. And knock on wood, of course, with today's game, but they may have just accomplished that. Leon's just a quick out that time, finding Ogden. Short of the first down, and a flag in the Eastern backfield. Personal foul against Idaho State. So the Eagles will pick up a first down via that route.
You know, early in the ball game, we saw the matchup between Bell and Ogden, and they've changed up now with Idaho State playing a lot more zone, getting away from that man cover. Seems to be some confusion on the call here.
Well, yeah, they have to decide. It should be a first down via the penalty route.
Should be.
But they may also be checking the sequence, whether it was afterwards. It's check and see, and they will spot the play and then march off the penalty. So that's the situation there.
That puts Eastern in great shape.
Rough the passer on the defense, half the distance to the goal from the end of the run.
Okay.
Roughing the passer, Todd.
They'll spot the ball at the 12-yard line, and a first down for the Eagles from there. Correa slot to the outside, and the man in the slot is Ogden. Prescott in the backfield. He'll take the carry. Cracks back once again, and then gains another 4 or 5 before he's shoved out of bounds. Pete Beecher, the defensive lineman, leading the tacklers for Idaho State.
Here's a look again on that little power series that Eastern's running. Prescott again makes the great move here. He runs off a couple of blocks, but he puts his shoulder down. Not very big, but gets all he can get out of every run. I'll tell you, he is talented.
You know what, Don? We keep saying Rex this and Rex that, but he doesn't do it without the big guys up front, and that right side of the line has been imposing here in the first half.
They are good, no question about it.
3 on that carry for him. Corner route wide open in the end zone. Incomplete, the signal. We had to wait for a second. Ogden did not get the feet down. And I think Leons might have feathered that one a little bit more than he needed to. He had Ogden open. He turned his defender around.
You get a look at it here. He certainly is open. The throw is there, but he obviously is out of bounds, the official says. We'll see it in the replay here. It's a good throw. He goes up for the football.
You see the foot on the line. One of his feet hit the stripe there that time.
Good call.
It was a nice route there, Don, running the wide man in underneath Correa and then clearing out the space for Ogden.
Yep, great one-on-one play.
So a third down situation. Eagles can pick up a first down at the 2. Correa kind of signaling. They'll bring Prescott back. Got tripped up. Oh, it looked as though he were ready to break into the clear. And Chris Driscoll, the defensive end for Idaho State, was down on the ground. Prescott tripped over him.
I think it's 6 points if he doesn't get tripped up, Todd. Boy, he makes some moves, and he has the quick feet to make those moves.
So Atwood, who missed the long attempt before, will take another look here and watch 95 in white for Idaho State.
Here's the play here. He definitely makes the right cut. He gets tripped up right there. Yep.
Man got sandwiched, but was going to get credit for the tackle. Atwood, who, as we said, missed the long attempt, will come on once again. This one a 24-yard try, and he's nailed it. So the Eagles stretch the lead out to 10-0 now after that drive stalls. Eastern Washington 10, Idaho State nothing. We'll return to Cheney after this timeout on the Big Sky Game of the Week. And back in Cheney, the Eagles lead it by a 10-0 score. Atwood with the field goal. 8-play, 51-yard drive for the Eagles. Took a little over 3 minutes off of the clock. Eastern now with 205 yards of total offense to 82 for Idaho State. There's a look at Whitworth back to return the kick. And he is back there with Bell.
Eastern, Todd, putting 6 guys on the front. We talked about it earlier. You and I have actually in the pregame. Just a little different look that Eastern presents. Idaho State presents.
And another short kick here, and I'm almost wondering whether the kicker's leg might be bothering him since he's kicked one out of bounds and then hit that one.
And he had a pooch punt, remember, early in the original kickoff.
Can't think of any other reason we weren't notified of that. We'll try and see if we can find out whether Josh Atwood's leg's bothering him, although he had the long field goal attempt earlier as well. So we will try to sort that one out as the Bengals bring the ball back out onto the field. Quick reminder for you, weeknights at 6:30, Fox Sports brings you an early edition of Fox Sports News. Then at 10 o'clock, you can get a complete recap of all the day's sporting events. That's Fox Sports News, weeknights at 6:30 and 10 here on Fox Sports Northwest. Jeff Delancey, the motion man for Idaho State. Ernst hauling in this pass from Anderson, wrapped up over the 40-yard line. Chantel Franklin, the right cornerback, leading the tacklers that time for Eastern Washington. Gary Anderson with the completed pass. Reminder again, you can dial in on your browsers to www.bigskyconf.com. Don't put that period in between Sky and Conf. They want to know how many Peyton Award winners have come from the Big Sky. We'll tell you about it in just a second. Elgon gets a first down for Idaho State. The Peyton Award, in case you don't know it, is the 1AA version of the Heisman Trophy for the outstanding player. And 5 out of the last 10 years, the Big Sky Conference has had the Peyton Award winner. Going all the way back to 1989, John Freese from Idaho won it. Jamie Martin at Weber State in 91. Doug Nussmeier of Idaho in 93. And then the last 2 years, a Big Sky player has won it. Dave Dickinson at Montana in their national championship year. And then Archie Amerson of Northern Arizona winning it in 96. Where you been hiding? Eagles get the ball on the fumble recovery. Coming out of the pack is Dario Romero.
Here's the play, Todd is stumbling coming out of there. I think he might have tripped in his own, one of his guards or his center perhaps, and then puts the ball on the ground, and of course Eastern comes up with it.
So the Bengals, who got 8 turnovers from Southern Utah, did not turn the ball over themselves last week. They in fact lead the conference in plus-minus on turnovers. And they will give it to Eastern Washington now at the ISU 45-yard line. Got an interesting question coming in from our website. We'll share that in just a second with the coach and get his opinion as Leons is looking underneath, under some pressure. Kind of throws that one away behind Prescott, who's going down the sideline. Idaho State coaches want a grounding call. There's Tom Walsh. He wanted to get a little yardage. The question that just came in, Don, they say, why do you think, let's watch this play first with some pressure against Leons.
Well, they get pressure on him. Idaho State's doing a nice job of making Leon throw off balance, and here he has to throw the ball away. He doesn't have time to get the ball upfield.
They're wondering, why is Eastern Washington throwing so much at Trevor Bell? Because most teams generally try to avoid him, and he's an outstanding defender. So they're wondering what you think about that so far.
Well, my opinion is it's who they're trying to throw to rather than against Bell. And they're trying to get the ball Let's watch this play, Todd.
Prescott stacked up for short yardage.
Yeah. But one of the things that they've tried to do right along is to isolate certain receivers that they have. They have so much speed, and I think Bell winds up trying to play the best of the receivers. We talked about the matchup before, and I really believe what we're seeing is Ogden catching a lot of footballs against Bell because of the two better, so to speak, players, one on each team.
He's the young man, Bell is, who's tied for the career record in interceptions. And as we said, Ogden, the leading receiver for Eastern Washington and third in the conference with close to 700 yards coming into today's game. Third and long, try to run the little dump off to Correa. Has a couple of rush blocks and then falls down. Both wideouts were there in the pattern to block for him, but he lost his balance just a bit.
He did look like a big play. It was set up very well. 3 against 2, but it didn't materialize. He slipped, actually, I think, after the catch. Here it is. Here they have room to run, and right here is where he slips.
Pretty good job there by Leon Maycock to come off that original block of Mitchell and,
sure
back the play up just a little bit. Zerflew on to punt for Eastern. Bell back in single return. Waves for the fair catch, takes a deke on it. And the Eagles are going to get this one down. Let's see if they'll say everybody stayed outside the goal line. Looks as though they will, inside the 1-yard line. Perigo was down there for the Eagles along with LeVar McCleary, and also down there in the field in a hurry is Aaron Best. So some special teams work for Eastern as well. Let's watch this.
Well, it's a wonderful kick. It's covered very well by Eastern. Ball down right at the 1-yard line, puts Idaho State in poor field position. You know, one of the things Eastern did last week against Montana, as you well know, Todd, was sustain long drives, 5 or 6 of them over 60 yards. They're having trouble doing that today. Idaho State, give them the credit.
Far right,
well, they ruled that there was a touch prior to that on Eastern when the ball took the bounce, so they'll spot it out at the 8-yard line. Reminder, at halftime, we'll let you know what else is going on in the Big Sky Conference today, get you caught up on the Pac-10 and our top 25 scores, and take a look at some of the first half highlights from here in Cheney, Washington. Midpoint of our second quarter, and a little bit of relief, but not much for Idaho State there as they move it out. Elgon fighting off of one potential tackler, flag thrown late behind the play, and it looks as though the Bengals are going to get flagged for another holding call. Don, it was a nice job by Elgon to slide outside, but the Bengals are getting caught here.
That's a big penalty, too, Toss, a holding penalty. Too bad. He really does the right things, as you can see by the picture here, as he slides way to his right to get away from some of that pursuit. Does a nice job of putting his head down, but really not a lot of room to run.
You saw 89 Abe Wettig, the man called for the hold. The Eagles are going to decline the penalty, however, and they'll call it a second down. After about a 1-yard game for Elgon, they'll spot the ball out at the 9-yard line.
Coach Kramer's got a lot of confidence in his defense, evidently, or he wouldn't have made that call, I don't think.
Well, they do burn one down after just the short carry. Idaho State close to 50 yards in penalties thus far. Ernst, the motion man once again. Looking for Nikiasen, clears the zone and batted away. A saving play there by Maurice Perigo from the free safety spot. That ball hung up just a little bit. Anderson very slow getting up. He has an injured thumb as well, and he's wobbly walking around. I think he's going to have to come off the field. The Bengals are signaling for a timeout, but watch Anderson get hit here.
Anderson in his 5-step drop. He sees it and makes a nice throw under pressure. Really a fine throw right on the mark, but he gets tagged as he lets the ball go, and he is hurt.
Nikiasen really kind of clearing his zone and was able to get by the backers and into the clear. You can see him working on Gary Anderson, who has been banged up several times in his Idaho State career. The Bengals would like to keep their senior quarterback in the game. We'll give you an update when we come back. Back in Cheney, they've patched Anderson up. The Bengals will try to convert a 3rd and long deep in their own territory. They need to take it to the 18-yard line. They'll give it to Nikiasen after trying to throw it to him last time, and he'll be snowed under in the backfield. Steve Matz on the left end, the senior from Nacelle, Washington, leading the tacklers. And the Eagles have held. Watch it once again.
Here's a look at a big play off tackle power with the backside pulling, but there's no place to run. Eastern's front is so good. Look at the fill by Eastern.
Don, we've seen Matson make that kind of play twice already here. Both times Idaho State's trying to block him with Elgon. A running back's not going to be able to hold off a guy like Matson.
Too physical, too physical. The matchup's not there.
Correa and Perigo back in return formation again for Eastern. Simpson set to punt from out of his end zone. Eagles set the return up once again, and a short kick this time. Perigo, it hits him. He'll have to make a play on it. He tried to get out of the way. Did the ball stay in? Who gets credit? I don't think Idaho State had control of it before it went out of bounds. Big mistake for Perigo. He gets a break on it as the ball goes out, and Eastern will have it at the Idaho State 40. Tried to make a play on it, or get away from it rather, because someone was getting in his lane, and then had it play off him right there.
And there may have been some sun involved here in terms of his vision of the football, because he really misplayed the ball, and he's a tremendous football player. He didn't do that.
Now, if we're playing in Canada, that's Idaho State's ball, but not down here. The Eagles get it as the Bengals could not get possession in time, and Eastern Washington comes up with a break right there.
And great field position.
Prescott to the left this time. Met head on, and there's a nice solid open field tackle by Trevor Bell. We've got to talk about Bell and also Matson as you get a look on the Idaho State sideline. Anderson being attended to. Those two young men have both been recipients, Matson being honored before the game today, of Burger King scholarships for academic and athletic accomplishment. The young men each winning $10,000 for the general scholarship fund of their schools. And Bell honored earlier in the year, and Matson getting one today. Josh Brandon at Montana, another Big Sky player who has received one of those awards, and really a nice recognition for those young men.
You can't say enough about Trevor Bell, his athletic ability. You know, he is just the heart and soul of this Idaho State team. He makes so many big plays, and he's such an inspirational leader. But you watch him, he's just fun to watch. He's all over the field. If there's something to be done to cause something to happen, he's the guy. He's the catalyst for that defense.
He's also an academic All-American, a 3.6 GPA in speech communications, and nominated for 3 different postgraduate scholarships, including the NCAA and College Football Hall of Fame. While we were looking at Anderson and then Bell, Eastern Washington was flagged for a dead ball personal foul. They've moved the ball back now to the Eastern 49-yard line. 2nd and 21 for the Eagles from there. Leon's looking long, has 2 receivers, puts it behind Correa, who adjusts and makes the catch, and will get almost all of the yardage back. Did the ball pop loose? Bengals say that they have it. Let's see what the verdict is. The wrestling match going on underneath the pile. They'll say it's Eastern's ball. Let's watch Correa's adjustment on this catch.
Well, it's a play-action pass. Leon makes the nice throw. It's behind him, but Correa makes a tremendous catch out of it. Gets the ball stripped away right here, but somehow gets it back.
I think if we watch that again, too, the ball got tipped at the line of scrimmage by one of the Idaho State defenders.
I think it did.
Put a funny spiral on it, and that's another reason Correa had to reach back. You see the numbers for Correa. Set an Eastern record last year, averaging better than 23 yards a catch, and gets 19 of that 21 back. It's a 3rd and 2. Prescott with a run to the first down. He breaks Bell's tackle once again inside the 15-yard line before Rex Prescott comes down. There's Bell coming up with a solid shot on him, and Prescott listed at 5'7", 170. That might be generous, but he drives right through the all-conference safety.
Well, here's a look at it again. Little power play to the right. You see the Eastern front moving people, but what a great break here on the part of Prescott in terms of breaking the tackle of Bell and getting another 15 or 20 yards after that. Right here is the picture of Bell making the miss.
Don, this young man had to back up Joe Sewell, a great running back at Eastern, for a couple of years, but he will probably move into the number 4 career spot today. Just a tremendous rusher.
We'll see.
He's spelled now by McKenzie, who could go all the way down. He finally gets dropped inside the 5-yard line. Just a matter of which alley he wanted to run through that time. There were so many different options for Mike McKenzie.
You can't say enough about that Eastern front. You look at that front, they just move people. Here you see a little cross block here with a lead. McKenzie makes, look at the room he has to run in, makes the right play by going right inside the defensive end and outside the defensive tackle and runs north and south.
T.J. Ackerman helping to open the hole for McKenzie that time. This is a fella, Dunn, who's come back from 3 different reconstructive knee surgeries. He's got NFL potential, and the Eagles just delighted to have him start at that right guard slot today.
Boy, he gives them a lot of punch over there.
They tried to punch that time, and good support by Jason Trotter, who sold out that time, coming up from the strong safety spot. Telly Lockett also there making the tackle, and McKenzie a little gimpy as he gets up and comes back to the huddle.
And, you know, speaking of Ackerman, of course, his brother plays in the NFL right now, Todd. I think he plays with New Orleans, does he not?
That's correct. The Eagles have been the offensive lineman factory, as it were, as they turn out several good guys. And Mike Kramer says of Jim Buzzard, the right tackle, that he is one of the top 5 offensive linemen in the school's history. You see the rushing totals. Eastern close to 300 yards rushing here in the first half alone. McKenzie trying to pick his hole, and a nice job that time by Adam Hayden, the defensive end for Idaho State, to spill McKenzie.
Idaho State doing a commendable job. I'll tell you, they're outmanned up front, and they're just scrambling and scratching and biting and chewing and everything you can do to make it happen. And they're really playing hard, tough football right now.
You know, I think that's fair to say that's been a hallmark of ISU defensive teams throughout the years. They just never give up, and they claw and scratch and fight as hard as they can, Donnie. So that'll bring up a 3rd down now, and goal for the Eagles at the 7-yard line. Trips to the left side, and we'll see what kind of pattern they run this time. Leon's flushed out of the pocket a little bit, scrambling, throws sidearm, touchdown. He just ad-libbed that one and found Steve Correa for the catch. That's what practice results in. A quarterback and a wide receiver getting on the same page when things break down.
Patience and confidence, both. Leon scrambling around, knowing a receiver's going to break open. Correa knowing he can find a place and cuts back, breaks right into the face of Leon's and makes a great play out of a 1-2 passing combination.
15th touchdown pass of the year for Harry Leons. For Correa, his 6th touchdown reception. Atwood on to attempt the extra point once again. And he's got 33 in a row. The Eagles do it through the air this time. It's Eastern Washington 17, Idaho State nothing. We're in Cheney for the Big Sky Conference Game of the Week. And we welcome you back to Cheney. The Eagles looking to extend their season record to 7-1, 5-1 in the Big Sky Conference. And Don, one of the reasons we find out why they're pooching the kicks is that they haven't been a lot of luck with kick coverage this year. So they're trying to contain run backs. And of course, you get a guy like Bell who leads the conference in punt return average and is a pretty good kick returner as well. You see the scoring drive for Eastern that time. And another squib kick, Bell taking it out over the 20-yard line, so anything after that's kind of gravy for the Bengals, and he'll take it to the 30 before he is dropped there. Britt Lentz on the tackle for Eastern Washington. And another look at Trevor Bell, the young man we talked about, the award winner on and off the field. A reminder, coming up at halftime, a little more than 3 minutes away, we'll get our Big Sky Conference report. A lot of evening games in the league to talk about this week. Pac-10 score updates, top 25 as well, and give you the highlights of the first half, which so far have been all Eastern. Idaho State will make a switch at quarterback, and Kevin McCarthy, the redshirt freshman from Pocatello, will come in. State High School Player of the Year in 1994. He hands him to Kiason on the first carry. So Don, the Bengals going to a number 3 guy now in Kevin McCarthy.
Well, there's no question Anderson is hurting, and he did a commendable job. He came into the game with a bum wrist, and then he got tagged again, and it's probably good to get him out of there.
Looks as though he's got the play card on the wrist. There it is, the Tom Maddie special. McCarthy, young man who signed originally with Nevada, Las Vegas, and then transferred to Idaho State. He has 4 years of eligibility in the ISU program. Play action for him now, has some room, dropped the ball, and then falls on top of it. So he avoids disaster there. Took his eyes upfield a little bit and forgot to hang on to it, but he had some running room for a moment.
Well, I'm not sure if that was going to develop into a pass or a run. It's a fake here. He bootlegs to his right. He looks like he's going to pass, but then he puts the ball away. He tries to, and he drops it on the ground, actually. Covers his own fumble.
Steve Mattson applying the pressure there for Eastern. So a 3rd and 7 situation now for the Bengals, as they try to get something going here in the closing minutes of our first half. Idaho State is 8th in the conference in 3rd down conversion, but they're below average today. Elgon will not get it either. Plenty of support on that red-clad defense that time. Jared Jeske leading the tacklers for Eastern Washington as you get a look at Anthony Elgon. Correa and Perigo back deep now for Eastern. Simpson on to punt once again. Well, Simpson takes a sort of an inordinately long time to wait for the snap there. Gets a little end over end, better height this time. Perigo at his own 23. Has a blocker up in front and takes just short of the 40-yard line before he is dropped. So good field position for the Eagles if they want to try and gamble a little bit. Jason Trotter on the tackle for Idaho State.
They had that return set up, Todd. It looked to me like it was just a man, maybe two away from breaking it.
Little chat over on the Eastern side. J.D. Sollers is the offensive coordinator for this Eastern Washington team, and Mike Kramer is very quick to give him a lot of credit for the team's offensive success this season.
Well, that sounds like Coach Kramer, but they do have a solid staff. They've brought this program a long ways. It's really a strong program in this conference and in the country.
A little quick toss this time to Ogden with plenty of running room. He'll get over midfield before he goes out of bounds. Ogden picking up another first down, and Jeff wanted us to be sure to send get well wishes to his grandmother, Ruth Davis. She's watching the game back home in Snohomish, Washington today, and Grandma, Jeff hopes that you're feeling better, and of course watching his play today probably doesn't hurt at all. He's had a very good first half so far.
He's had a pretty good season, Todd. He is special, that kid.
Averaging better than 20 yards a catch as well, so the burner is there. This one from the ISU 48, and they'll go play action looking for a little bit more. Looking down the sidelines for Correa. Played very well that time. He tried to create a little bit of space against Joe Barnes, but the senior from Aurora, Colorado had no take on that one at all. He didn't give an inch. Was able to make the play.
Here's the play. Barnes playing it very well, running stride for stride with Correa. Ball's thrown, just underthrown a little bit, but heck of an effort.
They had Lance Ballou, their backup tight end, running sort of a drag route down the middle, and he appeared to be open deep as well, clearing the zone. Good numbers for Leons. Again, he's completed 2/3 of his passes today. He completes better than 61%. Again, he's kind of that crafty pitcher type of quarterback, Don. He comes up with ways to beat you.
Well, he's leading the league in efficiency, and also he just doesn't get the interceptions.
Has plenty of time here, throws. It'll be close to the first down. Joe Mitchell on the catch, and they'll give him the spot just about a yard beyond the sticks. There's a bit of a veteran play there. Mitchell making sure that he got behind the marker that time.
That's true, and look at that ball thrown right on a line, Todd. It was interesting to see Leon just reared back and threw it, just made the ball hum.
Eagles getting that balance that they want to get on their offense right now. 170 yards rushing, 115 passing for 285 of total offense here in the first half. Again, they are leading the conference at better than 500 yards a game, so this is nothing new for them. Under some pressure, Leons again wheels away from it. Little floater this time. Mitchell, the intended receiver, he got knocked out of bounds. Couldn't get the feet down. Nice coverage there. Jason Trotter, it appeared to be, and he may be shaken up a bit down there on the sidelines. And Mitchell also shaken up now for Eastern.
There's the throw after Leon scrambled to his left. What a nice job of avoiding the tackle. Well thrown ball. Here's a close look at it. Up for grabs. Just either the defender or the offensive man could have made the play.
Got behind the cornerback, Brandon Reed, the backup cornerback. Mitchell still being attended to down around the 10-yard line over on the far sideline. But Trotter was able to slide over and make that play. Mike Kramer waiting to see what's going to happen. His team taking a timeout here with 24 seconds left to play in the second quarter.
Mitchell was really open early.
And Mitchell now down on his back inside the 10-yard line over on the eastern sideline. So he's just a few yards away from where he was knocked out of bounds, and after standing for a few seconds has gone down onto his back now.
It almost looks like they're treating it as if it's a cramp, the way they're pulling on his legs. But as we said earlier, Todd, he was wide open, and had Leon's been able to set his feet earlier, he had to scramble going to his left. Had he been able to have time to set his feet, I'm sure that would have been a completion.
So Leon's and the Eagles now faced with a 2nd and 10, and they'll try to get some more points on the board here with 24 seconds left to play in the half. Grant Ellsworth will come in as the backup now for Mitchell. Ellsworth at the bottom of your screen, little underneath for Prescott with a couple of blockers out in front. Gets behind that wall, picks up a first down, takes it down to the 20, and they'll stop the clock again to move the chains. Boy, what a comforting feeling if you're Rex Prescott. You look up and there's one red wall with a 7-2 on it and the other one with a 7-7 on it leading you down the field.
Boy, I'll say, Todd, you know, I don't know whether Leon's check to this player was called, but it was the right call for the coverage, and they were man on the corner, zone deep. Prescott has a lot of room to run before he runs into Idaho State Bengals.
Eastern with another timeout as this play gains 17 yards and takes it down to the Idaho State 21-yard line. The Eagles calling for time once again. Little conference over on the eastern sidelines as Harry Leons will come back over. Now, the number that stood out to me, Don, going into this game about Harry Leons, he's completed 89 passes for the season prior to today. But the Eagles have 7 guys with 10 or more catches. And to me, that means he's not locking on anybody. He's looking for an open receiver.
He's finding the right receiver, and he's only thrown 2 interceptions, which is really impressive.
Yeah, with 14 touchdowns coming into today, and of course picking up the 15th on the pass to Korea a little over 3 minutes ago here in the second quarter. We'll chat with Prescott in the backfield now as they have 1 timeout left and see whether they try to pop into the end zone from here or go sideline route and pick from there. They might have time for 3 plays if they hurry, but more likely 2 here.
And they are in field goal range, Todd.
Yeah, but you get a feeling this offensive unit wants a little bit more right now, and they're looking end zone again. Throwing, diving, Korea, short, did not get out of bounds. Short of the sideline is what I meant to say. It's going to be good for the first down, so they'll stop the clock again with 7 seconds left, and they're spotted at the 8-yard line on this catch by Korea.
Here's a look here, 5-step drop, sideline route, designed to get out of bounds and stop the clock. Doesn't get there. The ball's underthrown a little bit, but a nice throw, a nice catch, and a big gain for Eastern. They're going to field goal, Todd.
Timeout called by Eastern Washington. They'll use the final timeout and bring the kicker on the field. Well, Atwood will come on now. You get the feeling that they might have tried one more had they gotten out of bounds, but Ogden will hold. This one is going to be a 26-yard attempt for Josh Atwood. He's 6 out of 7 at this range coming into the game, then added a 24-yarder to make it 7 out of 8. And overall for the season, he is now 8 out of 12 after missing the long one early in the ball game. So from 26, and he pops that one through cleanly to extend it now to 20-0 in favor of the Eagles. Well, about the only thing that's gone wrong for Eastern in this first half, Don, was when he missed the long-range attempt. Other than that, Eastern Washington's been very impressive here on offense. Now 315 yards of total offense in the first half.
They really are a machine. They're well-schooled, well-oiled, you might say. They do things right. They don't beat themselves. You can see the coaching all over the place. You can see the talent. They're strong. They've got good speed. They're really a quality program. And this Eastern team really is you can go back 2 or 3 or 4 years and you can see them each year getting a little better. And this perhaps is the best Eastern team at this point in time they've had in a long time.
There's part of our crowd here at Woodward Stadium. Yep, Eagles hoping that they'll get into the 1AA playoffs for the 3rd time, and Well, if they keep playing their cards right, they might even wind up hosting a game here in the Inland Northwest, because they definitely have the opportunity to continue to move up in the rankings. Still got some tough challenges ahead for them, including traveling down to Flagstaff. They'll go for the high short one this time. Whitworth giving way and leaves it for Bell. Cracks through the initial wall and takes it out to about the 38-yard line before he stopped there. Nice return by Trevor Bell, but that will end the first half of play as Eastern Washington has the lead at halftime over Idaho State. 20-0 our score. A couple of field goals by Atwood. An 85-yard run for Prescott, the first time the Eagles snapped the ball from scrimmage. And then Leons was able to find Correa with the touchdown pass with a little over 3 minutes to play here in the second quarter. And so, as we said, Eastern Washington continuing to move the ball well. 315 yards of total offense for Eastern in the first half. And their defense, for the most part, has done a pretty good job, Don, after letting Idaho State drive deep on that first possession.
Well, they have, and you know, they've stayed with a four-man front, really not trying to pressure Idaho State, just playing sound football, and they're doing a great job of it.
Again, the Eagles on top by a 20-0 score as you see the teams filing into the locker rooms here at halftime at Woodward Stadium in Cheney. And with the Eagles leading at the break, we'll take a minute here and talk with Eastern Washington head coach Mike Kramer. And Coach, your team pretty solid in all phases of the game. As we said a minute ago, that long field goal missed by Atwood was about the only thing that went wrong in the first half.
Well, Todd, we're a little concerned about our run defense. Idaho State, to their credit, it's one of the first teams we've played this season that's really tried to pound the ball at us. And give them some credit. They've double-teamed us at the front and slid up to our backers and done a nice job.
Well, Mike, they moved the ball pretty well on that initial drive. Did you make some adjustments after that? Because since then you seem to have bottled it up a little bit better.
Yeah, we chipped a little paint on the sidelines and told our guys to get ready to play. The Idaho State didn't come all the way from Pocatello to hand it to us. So, and still, I don't feel like our defensive front seven has mastered what they're trying to do offensively, so we're a little concerned about it.
Well, we'll let you go in and have a little bit more of a chat with them. Good luck in the second half, and congratulations on the effort thus far.
Got to find some better pass protection here. Dancing around like he's a scrambling quarterback. That ain't going to work for us.
I hear you there. Thank you, Mike. We'll talk to you a little bit later. Eastern Washington on top of Idaho State. 20-0 our score at halftime. We'll be back to get our halftime activities underway right after this timeout. Halftime in Cheney, Washington. Eastern Washington leading Idaho State by a score of 20-0 as the Eastern band out on the field, part of the homecoming activities here at Woodward Stadium in Cheney. Todd Pickett along with Don Reed in a pretty impressive outing, despite what Mike Kramer says. I mean, he's always looking for improvement. He wants his team to get better down the stretch. They look pretty good in the opening 30 minutes.
Well, they really do, Todd. You know, you look at them, what do they do wrong? I mean, they're throwing the ball well, they're running the ball well, they're winning the battle up front. They have so many things going for them. They're just a quality team. We knew it coming in, and they've demonstrated in this first half.
Never satisfied. I guess that's what you want when your program is doing well. As he says, they've got room to improve still on both sides of the ball. This Eastern team could be real scary if they still have room in which to grow. Let's take a look now at conference standings as we continue our halftime report from here in Cheney. And this, the Big Sky standings coming in. You see Eastern Washington, again, ranked 11th at 4-1 in conference play. And then three teams with a loss apiece. Montana State, perhaps the most surprising of that trio, but they have played very good football all year long. And narrow losses really have just kept them from being not only undefeated in the conference, but perhaps undefeated overall. That 1-point lead in Northern Arizona. Otherwise, we'd have Montana State up there at the top of the pack. We're in Cheney, Washington, and the home team, the Eagles of Eastern Washington, lead the Idaho State Bengals by a score of 20-0. I'm Todd Pickett along with Don Reed, and we welcome you back to Cheney once again. Eastern with a very impressive first half of play as they continue to move the ball and continue to delight this homecoming crowd so far. And the Eagles continue to roll there. There's part of the halftime festivities. Mr. and Ms. Eastern Washington University being named here at halftime. I don't know. I think he's kind of dressed down for her. You know. But the folks here are having a good time. I mean, great weather today in Cheney. This crowd at Woodward Stadium enthusiastic, and they really have every right to be, Don. I mean, heck, their team's off to a great start, one of the best in school history at 6-1.
Well, they have to be proud. I mean, these kids have just done everything and then more than were expected of them. I say the kids, meaning Eastern Washington, this football team, they work hard in the off-season, excellent weight program. They've really put it together. You know, they've had few injuries, I should put it that way, Todd, which has allowed them to stay in the productive, positive mode game after game.
Maybe if they get to 7-1, they can get the guy a tux. I don't know. Eastern Washington 20, Idaho State nothing. As we continue with our halftime activities from Cheney, Washington. Todd Pickett with Don Reed. More bad news for the Idaho State Bengals as Gary Anderson out with a slight shoulder separation. And so now the Bengals are probably going to have to go with McCarthy the rest of the way. That makes it even tougher for a team that has been pretty well bottled up after that initial good drive.
Well, it is too bad. Anderson was really doing a commendable job when you look at the whole picture, but he is definitely out for the second half. A shoulder injury like that, he will not be able to come back.
Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the first half of play, and Eastern Washington got a touchdown on the first time they snapped the ball as Prescott went 85 yards.
What a fine run this was, Todd. You know, he was almost caught here, but acceleration and balance and pours on the Cole for a big, big gain. But it doesn't surprise you. The guy's been doing that all year long.
Prescott with 10 carries for 141 yards in the first half. Atwood added that 24-yard field goal in the second quarter to make it 10-0. And then Leon's found Correa.
Here's a nice play here where Leon scrambling to his left, actually throwing off balance. What a fine throw and catch.
That one with about 3.5 minutes to play in the second quarter made it 17-0 in favor of the Eagles. Then as they drove down late, another pass here in the diving catch by Correa to set up a field goal.
Well, it's too bad for Eastern he didn't get out of bounds, or they might have had a chance at the end zone. But anyway, they did set up the field goal. Nice throw, nice catch.
26-yarder by Atwood in the closing seconds. That made it 20-0. And as we take a look now at the halftime statistics, you can see how dominant Eastern has been. 315 yards and very balanced offensively for Eastern.
Yes, and no turnovers, and of course holding Idaho State to 98 total yards tells you the whole story.
And again, the key part of that, out of that 98 yards for Idaho State, I would guess probably half of that came on the first drive.
That's true, and you look at the first drive and erase the rest of it, and you think Eastern's going to dominate. I mean, excuse me, I keep saying Eastern. Idaho State's going to dominate the ball game.
300-plus yards for the Eagles, the #1 offense in the Big Sky. The defense shutting things down and pitching a shutout thus far. We will return to Cheney after this pause on the Big Sky Conference Game of the Week. We welcome you back to Cheney. Eastern Washington 20, Idaho State nothing. And the Idaho State Bengals have yet to return to the field. Eastern Washington's kick team is out on the field. And Don, I think this is kind of a wise move. I mean, obviously you run the risk of a potential penalty, but I think it's the kind of thing right now that the Bengals need to do a little bit, because Tom Walsh has just got to get this team settled a little bit and ready to play in the third quarter of play. Mike Kramer over on the Eastern sidelines wondering what is taking place there. And now Tom Walsh of Idaho State joins us down on the sidelines. And Coach, as we said before the game, the injuries continue to mount up, and of course losing Gary doesn't help at all in the first half.
No, we're not going to be able to bring him back in the second half. But the thing which concerns me the most, obviously, is that we're playing very flat without any emotion or any intensity. We've missed a lot of tackles, and we've been our own worst enemy with the flags on offense. A couple of holding calls in critical situations took us out of a 1st and 5 in the red zone, and then we converted on a throw to our tight end, which is called back because of holding. So right now, we're totally playing against the grain in terms of playing smart football and playing with any kind of intensity or focus on winning.
Coach, you took a little extra time with young men here at halftime. What did you talk to them about and try to get them regrouped here for the second half?
Well, talked about playing with some heart, playing with emotion, playing with intensity, playing like they want to be out here and not just a bunch of brook trout going to the slaughter. And I think sometimes, you know, we were doing fine the first drive, although we didn't capitalize. They bang us on the first run from scrimmage when they took the ball, and everyone's heads just went straight to their sternum, and their just chins dropped, and from that point we just like someone took the air out of us, and we've got to be able to handle adversity much better than that.
Tom, thank you for your time. Good luck in the second half.
Okay, great.
Tom Walsh, head coach of the Idaho State Bengals, is his team out on the field now getting set for the second half, and we get our first look at the fellow who was second team Big Sky Conference a year ago and is second in the conference in field goals, a very talented kicker in James Farrell, who hasn't had a chance to use his leg prior to now. We saw him on the pooch punt, of course, but outside of that, we haven't had him do much of anything else. Eagles have Correa back as the deep man here in kick coverage. Farrell teeing it up one more time. As we said, he's 6 out of 7 in point after touchdowns this year, and 9 out of 11 in field goal tries. Previously shared the punting duties as well, but he finally had that taken away. Correa getting this kick at the goal line. Big hole for him. Breaks one more tackle and could be another big play for Eastern Washington. One man to beat, and he finally is taken out of bounds in Idaho State territory. The kicker slowed him up enough, and Brandon Reed, the backup defensive back, was able to prevent Steve Correa from providing another huge spark to open the second half. But hold on to everything. You see the numbers for Correa. We have a flag thrown back at the Eastern 24-yard line, and we could be backpedaling. And we will. You see the call again from Robert Salviano Jr. As they march this one back, the folks in the Eastern Washington Athletic Department wanted to be sure to wish Steve Spock a speedy recovery. He had surgery a little over a week ago. The timekeeper at the men's and women's basketball games here on the Eastern campus. Missing the home game. First Eagle home game that he's missed in a long time. He's watching today, and Steve, all the folks in the athletic department wanted to be sure to send their best wishes along to you.
First down.
So the Eagles will retreat a bit. That one taking it back to their 14-yard line. And, well, what Tom Walsh talked about a little bit comes back to hit Eastern here to open the second half of play, Don.
Well, it really did, because Eastern had great field position on that outstanding return, and now they're deep in their own territory, taking over about the 14-yard line.
Look at those numbers for Harry Leons, close to 70% passing in the first half.
He is a fine quarterback.
Prescott in the backfield, a little play action and an underneath throw to Mitchell on first down. Driving just short of the first down sticks as he's pushed out of bounds. Leading the way for Idaho State was Joe Barnes from the cornerback position.
One of the things about Eastern is with their fine running game, they are able to play action pass, but you have to respect it. And so they get that intermediate and short passing game going. They're awfully tough mixed in with their run.
Take that one out to the 23-yard line. Blocking back in for Prescott this time. He'll be close to first down yardage, but wrapped up quickly. It looked like a misassignment that time. The guys got through so quickly. Mike Fullwood leading the tacklers for Idaho State on that stop. Quick update now down the road in Pullman at halftime. Boy, a high-scoring first half, an Arizona offense that has been up and down at times this season. Sometimes can't get points on the board at all, but they're doing it against Washington State so far today and keeping the Cougars, who racked up 63 a week ago, in check. And that one a real shootout down at Martin Stadium in Pullman. Third and short for Eastern. Leons going for extra yardage this time, and they'll pick it up with Ogden. Beats the tackle of Bell again, and this one's going to go. Bell hangs his head. Leons to Ogden, 77 yards, and the 10th touchdown catch of the year for Jeff Ogden. Don, heck of a call on third and short. I think they fooled folks a little bit.
Well, what happened was Idaho State put 6 guys on the front and tried to blitz to pressure Leons. Leons here in the picture taking his 5-step drop. He finds Ogden wide open, beating Bell one-on-one, and a beautiful throw and a catch. What a play for Eastern. So they opened the second half up much like they did the first half. Big play.
Big plays have been the key for the Eagles so far. Point after touchdown attempt by Atwood. And he pops that through as well. The artillery crew is going to be busy today if this keeps up. The Army ROTC unit from Eastern Washington University, and you get a look at Jeff Ogden. 3 touchdown catches a week ago, and he gets his first so far today.
Todd, look at the protection Eastern gives. What a fine job to give Leon's time to make this great throw, make the play a success.
You know, you have to give Harry a little bit of credit there. He threw that one with Adam Hayden drawing a bead on him, and he knew he was going to take the pop.
Well, he did.
Ogden has an 86-yarder this season. To his credit, that's the longest passing touchdown for the Eagles this year. He goes 77 on that one and stretches it to 27-0. So again, emotionally, it's got to be tough on the guys in white right now. And the numbers for Ogden, 150, closing in on that after he went over 200 last week.
Eastern has a lot of speed. You know, we see it so many times with their receivers. Their running backs are quick, but their receivers are fast, and there's a difference.
And that was the real thing, talking to Mike Kramer before the game. He says the real key is they want to get one of those receivers. It's more pass and then run rather than long ball a lot of the time. That one a little bit more of an intermediate to deep route. But they have such outstanding speed that, yeah, you get matched up with them, and you can be staring at the numbers pulling away from you at the end of a play.
Well said, Todd, right.
This one going to one of the up men for Idaho State this time. It's Elgon in kick coverage, and he takes it out over the 45-yard line. So I don't know, those Pooches aren't exactly doing a great deal for the Eagles on field position either.
Great field position for Idaho State here now.
Don't forget, Fox Sports News comes your way twice nightly on Fox Sports Northwest. Get a preview of evening events at 6:30 and a complete recap of all the happenings in the world of sports at 10 o'clock. That's Fox Sports News, weeknights here on Fox Sports Northwest. Good position for the start for Idaho State. McCarthy back to throw. That one rolls loose. It'll go as an incomplete pass. Pressure applied by Steve Mattson. There's a look at Kevin McCarthy, and boy, what a tough situation. A young man is 0 for 5 for the season passing, has rushed one time, and you're counting on him to get your offense going now.
Well, it is tough playing behind like this, momentum against him, and then this very fine Eastern front. So he has a lot to deal with.
Ed Harris was also there, goes as the incomplete pass. Nikiasen bottled up right at the line of scrimmage, ran right into Jared Jeske. Another young man with plenty of academic accomplishments. In fact, a 3-time all-conference academic selection from just down the road in Spangle, Washington, Liberty High School. It's another nice thing that Mike Kramer has done, Don. He's recruited the state of Washington and nearby Idaho very, very well for really close to about 90% of the Eastern starters.
They've done a fine job of recruiting Washington and getting some of these talented players to come to Eastern. No question about that, Todd.
3rd down and 8 for the Bengals. Little swing route to Elgon. One-on-one, gets by Guillory, picks up good yardage and a first territory to the 39-yard line. Nice effort there by Anthony Elgon.
Good looking play, well executed, good call.
Good safe route too, Don.
It was. Just what they needed to get something going. They need to get a drive going.
This is the first pass that Kevin McCarthy has completed in an Idaho State uniform, and Elgon able to get by the backer into the secondary before he gets wrapped up. Stry leading the hitters, and they'll spot it just inside the Eastern 40-yard line. Best drive since the opening drive for Idaho State. Nikiasen. Well, he continues to spin and just gets a little extra every time he handles the ball. Guillory on the stop along with Harris.
Here's the handoff deep. Just base blocking, running hard, spinning, as you said, Todd, shedding blockers, shedding tacklers.
#1 rushing defense. Already surpassed on average by Idaho State, a team which has not run the ball very well itself, a little over 106 yards a game. So good effort for the Bengals as well. Pressure this time. McCarthy tried to get away, loses the ball. That's picked up. Did he stay in bounds? It's Harris. Can he go? Got a block. He just might. It'll be about a 48-yard return if he takes it in, but he gets hauled down from behind as the party comes to an abrupt end inside the Idaho State 10-yard line. Saving tackle made by Elgon. And Tom Walsh is out on the field talking to the officials. I don't know whether they are trying to claim he stepped out or not. Let's look. Might have caught the sideline. Tough to tell from that angle. You can see the Idaho State coach's reactions in the background. Yeah, he almost got caught in the infamous early celebration school. He's lucky he didn't get it stripped away.
Here's the play again, Todd, with the scramble. The ball gets loose, picked up, plenty of room here. can't tell really whether he touches the sideline or not.
All right, I thought about it, and I didn't say it. The guys in the truck want me to. Yes, that is our Leon Lett award-winning play for today. And he who celebrates early, well, he did hang on to the ball, though, so you can't give him complete. But instead of getting his points on the board, it's back to the offense now. Cade Calloway in as a blocking back for Prescott as they go to a bit of a jumbo look here. Prescott through the right side, stopped just short. His knees touched down short of the goal line. He'll argue it, but that's a good call. Jason Meter leading the Bengal defense.
Here's the play again. Leon's fronting out again, continuing to give the ball off deep, so Prescott gets a good look at what he's up against, finds a lane, leaps toward the end zone, doesn't quite get there. Big play for Eastern. Boy, they look good at this point. They look awfully good.
They'll call it a 7-yard gain. No, Leons is not checking his watch. He's checking the play selection on this 2nd and short. They jumbo it once again. Prescott, touchdown. You get a sense, Don, of the floodgates kind of opening a little bit here as Idaho State sets itself up for more damage from Eastern that time.
Here's the play again, a little counter action. Prescott running right in there hard, head down, bowls his way into the end zone. Big play for Eastern.
Atwood back once again. 2 touchdowns in 3 minutes and 3 seconds for Eastern Washington. 3:03 apart, that is. And another successful conversion. Eastern Washington capitalizes on the turnover. The Eagles lead at 34-0 over the Bengals. Will return to Cheney after this timeout on Fox Sports Northwest. Rex Prescott, with his 3rd rushing touchdown of the year, has extended it to 34-0 here early in the 3rd quarter. Atwood set to boot it once again. You almost wonder as a kicker, Don, it's got to be frustrating when your coach says, okay, go up and pooch it. You know, those kickers love to show off their legs and drill it through the end zone if they can.
Well, they've squibbed it 2 or 3 times in the game, too. Here's another squib.
And that one's going to go out of bounds, and they'll take it out at the 35. So I guess it shows up as 0 return yardage on the stats, however, but good field position once again for Idaho State, and they'll see if they can get something going. There's Kevin McCarthy again, hometown kid from Pocatello High School. Showed some poise and some touch, but you almost wonder whether he might be having a little bit of a problem with the football. He had the one squared away, and then of course had the fumble knocked loose at last time. We'll see what he can do for the Bengals as they try to get on the board. Kiason out of a single set. Short yardage gain, hit first by Avant Grant.
The Bengals, I thought, with a score like this, might try to spread a little more, but they're playing 2 tight ends right now. Of course, they have a lot of confidence in their running game, and I guess they want to make that go #1. And they do have the young quarterback in there, so it is understandable.
Robert McBride, the starting tight end for Idaho State, was shaken up on the play. He has come off the field, and Brian Deathridge, a sophomore from Pocatello, taking his place in the tight end spot. McCarthy with time finds Jackson Ernst out to midfield, and another Idaho State first down before he's pushed out of bounds by Jeske. So McCarthy looks pretty good there with those last couple passes he's delivered.
Well, he's scrappy too. I sure like his attitude. You notice that he gets excited when something happens.
You know, Don, looking down at the Idaho State sidelines in front of us, and you just get the sense of it being a depleted team. There just seem to be very few guys along the sideline and a few guys banged up, and it's just tough emotionally for a team to pick it up and keep going in that situation. Nikiason trying to slide off and find a hole somewhere. Jeske was the first guy to get to him along with Grant.
Well, it is, Todd. You know, it's one of those things. It's a first-year program, and they're just going to take the lumps and come along and learn from each of these experiences, and they're playing an awfully good football team today.
Idaho State now credited with 84 yards rushing, and you see their passing yards of 37. Keep in mind, out of that 84, 44 of those came on the one run by Elgon early in the ball game. So Eastern has done a pretty good job bottling him up the rest of the way. McCarthy, good rollout, finds his tight end McBride, who came back in, and he'll be tackled just short of the first down marker, and he might need to get checked again after that hit by Chris Scott. The left tackle nailing him, and McBride appears to be semi-collected, but nope, he's holding his left shoulder, and he's going to come back out again.
Here's the hit here. Boy, that was a hit. That was a takedown.
Young guy had just gotten evaluated and gotten right back in, and now he's really holding that left arm. You can see him kind of come over to the bench, and took a big shot that time from Scott. 3rd and inches for the Bengals. Nikias in the motion man, and they fake it. McCarthy trying to find one-on-one Gerald Franks. He's got single coverage and a flag thrown. Pass interference is going to be called against Franklin. He's clapping his hands, but I think it's going against him. Don't see how it couldn't.
Todd, that's real moxie. Here you are, 3rd. You're down 34 points, 3rd and real short, and they go for it all. I got to respect that.
I like that call. I mean,
too.
Why not? Go for broke. I mean, they don't have anything to lose.
Why not?
Good touch on the ball by McCarthy. And again, I think here, if Franks runs a little bit more to the inside route, obviously he does draw the flag from Franklin, but if that ball's thrown a little bit wider for him, or he's able to break it back inside, they might have put 6 on the board right there.
It looked like it. It sure did look like it.
Pass interference on the defense. 15-yard penalty on the line of scrimmage. Automatic first down.
To the 23-yard line. We said earlier this team has struggled offensively all year long. In their 6 games that they have played, they have scored just 8 touchdowns, and 2 of those have come on special teams. One a punt return by Bell last week, and the other a kickoff return by a talented sophomore, Monte Walzer, who is not available this week due to injury. So they would love to get an offensive touchdown, and they'll go to a trips formation here down near Eastern's red zone. Elgon dropped for loss of yardage, dropped by about 2 yards that time, and Grant has to be a little careful he doesn't tap dance on him as he celebrates coming out of the play.
There's the play again, ball given off deep. Again, that's one of the things Eastern's doing, giving their backs a chance, but no chance there with Eastern all over them, just squeezing and pursuing. What a fine front they have.
Don, he just beat it flat out that time. Grant beat the block and was able to make that tackle. Had 6 tackles for loss coming into today's game. Delancey, the motion man. Looked like he turned up field early. No flag on that. Under pressure, McCarthy is going to get wrapped up. And there is the sack master, Ed Harris, 11th on the career list, and he's just recorded his 8th sack of the season.
Eastern was playing pass all the way, rushing 4, but you notice the depth of the linebackers as you see the drop looking upfield. Eastern's linebackers are well into the secondary. There's no place to throw the football, so he scrambles, but the pressure gets to him.
So a 3rd and long situation now for the Bengals. They need to take it down to the Eastern 13-yard line. Tried to draw him off there and almost got it. Gets away from Harris, then has to throw, hits the ref, and nearly got picked off as well. We nearly had one for the highlight reel. As McCarthy was running for his life, and I mean, what the heck, the referees do have black and white on. That's pretty close to the orange, black and white. But somehow the U doesn't count as a number for Idaho State, and Lou Tosti was an ineligible receiver.
Well, he can't throw the flag on you for throwing the ball away when you hit the official. Great pressure on the part of Eastern in the pass rush that time.
Well, James Farrell is going to come on and try a 40-yard field goal. We'll correct that now. Actually, it's going to be a 46-yard field goal attempt for Farrell. It would not be a season long. He's hit one from 49. Line drives it a bit and misses it. So the Bengals unable to get points on the board after that drive. It's the first miss for him inside of 50 yards this year. Eastern Washington holds. They'll get the ball back. We're in the third quarter in Cheney. Eastern leads Idaho State. Kevin McCarthy has shared holding duties with Gary Anderson this season for Idaho State. Had a little bit of a problem with this one.
The snap was a little wide and the ball was bobbled just a little bit. It may have some bearing on the kick itself.
He did a pretty good job of getting that one down.
Well, he did.
A little talk there between holder and kicker. Eagles take over inside their 30-yard line. Prescott, boy, he squirts through that hole in a hurry and into the secondary before he's wrapped up. Bell there along with Maycock, but a huge hole there for Prescott.
Boy, oh boy, again, we look at that offensive front. We've been talking about it all day of Eastern, but they make something happen, and then you got a back like Prescott. And you're right, look at the acceleration through the hole. The hole is gigantic, but great acceleration. Bell makes the play again.
They just seal off that left side. It was a double flying Knables route is what it was. It was Lance and Tyson there along with John Kane. Look at the total yardage now for Eastern, over 400 so far in the contest. At midfield and another first down. Uh-oh, we got a rumbler down the left side and a first down over the 40-yard line. The linemen are ready to celebrate. Jim Buzzard carrying the ball. The senior from Centralia with positive rushing yardage says, Coach, don't bring McKenzie anymore when Prescott needs a breather. I'm ready to go.
Look at this play. You know, they're excited about this, and the reason to be, little reverse to the tackle, and he's a big old horse. Look at him trucking up the sideline, drawing a lot of attention. The Eastern sideline is hilarious. They're just having a great time with that one.
They teach him how to vault a guy down on the ground, and he might take it into the end zone. You got to teach it. You know, those big guys aren't used to picking up the feet more than a couple inches when they're running down the field. They go back to the more conventional look this time, and it's Mike Capoletti carrying the ball for the first time today, a sophomore from Redmond, another all-academic performer for Eastern Washington. Capoletti with a little under 6 yards a carry average. He's scored once this season and pretty talented running back in his own right. He just has to play behind Prescott and McKenzie. That's the problem. Callaway the up blocking back this time for Capoletti. And Mike with plenty of room in which to run. He'll get another first down, and the Eastern ground attack takes it inside the 20-yard line. Don, you get the feeling with this lead now that Mike Kramer would like to do this for the remaining 20 minutes of this ball game.
I'm sure that's true. He is not going to pour it on, but he's going to play hard and use a lot of kids and show off that running game. What a fine play, well executed. Idaho State was in an exchange where they brought the backer around the outside and the end and the tackle inside, but Eastern picked it all up and made it look easy.
They're the Eagle total of rushing yards in the ball game. Capoletti carrying once again, just wanted to look. Prescott now officially listed at 14 carries for 201 yards. And the Eagles are over that 249 mark even, I think, as we continue to update. And just looking quickly for Prescott, that 201 is a career best for him. First time he has had a 200-yard rushing game.
And Todd, we're in the third quarter, and he's not in there.
Touchdown runs of 85 the first time he touched the ball, and 1 minutes ago. Capoletti carrying once again. Close to first down yardage, but they'll have to probably get the chains out for this one to take a look.
Eastern using that zone blocking is just, it's hard when you're moving to the right or moving to the left. The entire line moving that way with the back running up in there behind it. It is very tough on a defensive football team.
They will mark it short. I'll tell you what else is tough is Tyson Knabelsrud comes out of the ball game a little bit slowly. Scott Johnson on to replace him. Smallest guy on that front line is the center, Peterson. He's listed at 6'1", 260, and he's the runt of the litter.
And he is extremely quick. That's the thing about these linemen. They can all run.
3rd and 1. Capoletti, puller out in front of him. He gets by tacklers. First down and more. Bounces off. Touchdown. Mike Capoletti, his second score of the year from 11 yards out. Don, great lead block for him here. Lance Knabelsrud pulling around from the left side, and then a great second effort as he bounces off the tacklers. I think that's got to be the most frustrating thing for Idaho State today. Their DBs keep bouncing off the Eastern runners.
Well, that's the thing. You know, we're talking about their offensive line being mobile and able to run. That was a good example. They turned the corner with those big guys out in front. What are you going to do?
Point after touchdown, slides through again. The guns of Cheney are ablaze, and so are the Eagles. Atwood adds the extra point after Capoletti's touchdown run. Eastern Washington with 3 touchdowns in the third quarter. Homecoming at Woodward Stadium on the campus of Eastern Washington University, and the Eastern Eagles continue to pile it on. 3 touchdowns in this third quarter as they lead the Idaho State Bengals by a score of 41-0 with a little more than 3 minutes remaining to play. I'm Todd Pickett along with Don Reed, and we welcome you back to the Big Sky Conference game of the week. Eastern Washington now listed at 480 yards of total offense, so they're still below their season average, but we're only in the third quarter, folks. Bell back deep along with Whitworth for Idaho State. As you get a look at Josh Atwood, the junior from Kennewick and Walla Walla Community College. Short one to Bell inside the 15. And stopped a little over the 25-yard line. Pretty good downfield coverage for the Eagles that time. Greg Pelzer on the stop, assisted by Britt Lentz. And another look at Trevor Bell, guy who hopes to get his shot at the pros, and what he might not have in foot speed, Don, he makes up in some of the other intangibles.
He is a playmaker and a leader, and any other name you want to give him, he is special. There's no question about that kid.
McCarthy back out on the field for the Bengals. At this point, you just kind of hope to string some good plays together and get something to build on. Trying to roll here, throws just a bit strong for Jackson Ernst. Don, this is really one of those situations that, to be honest, neither team is real fond of. You don't like to be out in front of the game in this point with this kind of a margin. Obviously it's a comfortable lead, but nobody likes to roll it up either.
No, and Mike Kramer's not his style. He's going to play hard, but he's not going to run the score intentionally. He's not.
Little veer option attack here. Makes the pitch to Elgon, but that only gains a couple of yards. Had a bit of a veer look to it. I mean, we didn't have the twin backs there and running, but a few heated words along the line here. And again, that's not particularly necessary with a 41-point lead either.
Here's the play again, just a lead option down the line. Nice pitch, really, and just no place to run. Eastern pursues well, got it all bottled up.
Nice read there by Matson on the end position as well. You haven't seen an option look like that, and immediately he makes the read and plays it perfectly and forces the pitch before sliding out. He'll try it again. He'll tuck it upfield this time a little bit shorter. I'm a little surprised by this, and the only reason I'm saying it, Don, is this is your last quarterback that's healthy, and now you're starting to run handing him some options. So, you know, you run the risk of getting him banged up a little bit as well.
Yes, I think they're just trying to find a way to make a big play happen, and you're right. I think when you play, though, you just can't think injuries. You have to think what's best for the team. How can we move the ball? How can we get points?
I'm not sure he's making the read quite. You see the coach and quarterback talking, making the reads exactly the way that Tom wants him to make him either. The Bengals have another man down. It's been a busy afternoon for veteran trainer Phil Luckey and the Idaho State medical staff as well, as they've had several guys to attend to. And Tom Walsh will come out and take a look. Tell you what, those of you thought that Tom was pretty polished in his answers, well, good reason for that, as Mike Love able to move off the field underneath his own power. Tom spent the last couple seasons out of coaching and was a commentator for College Football Network broadcasts on radio for the CBS radio network, and Also, another interesting thing about the Idaho State head coach, he was a founder and is still a partner in a software development company down in San Diego. So a lot more than just football in that man's life.
It's interesting that he'd want to come back into football, Todd. So many people that take a different course or a different direction professionally won't come back. He has chosen to.
Simpson on to punt. Correa fields it just inside the 30-yard line. Reads his blocks very well again. Flag thrown, so it's coming back. Well, every time the Eagles have sprung a good return, they've brought it back. I guess that's why some of the holes have developed, however. So don't celebrate too much, Steve, because it's all for naught.
One of the things about having speed and talent back there in return is they're running all over the field so many times, and the blockers really don't know where the returner's coming from, so to speak, and they get that push in the back or below the waist, and those things happen. I saw 2 other pushes out there did not get called in that particular play. It's very common. Here it is here. Correa takes the football, starts upfield to his left, looking for a place to run, makes a nice cut here. There's the push right there. He breaks by it, cuts again to the outside.
Back, 17, 10-yard penalty from the spot of the fall, 1st and 10.
Well, as Don said, kind of take your choice. There were 2 or 3 there, so okay, there's something else that Mike Kramer can talk about not executing to perfection, but not a whole lot of room to complain with the way his team has performed so far today.
Well, so they have really, really looked like they are the first place team in the Big Sky.
They take on Idaho next week, that one being played at Albee Stadium here in Spokane. Then go back to conference play for their final 2, but in 2 weeks a big game at Northern Arizona. Big lick put on here as they complete the pass, but they kind of hung the man out to dry. Cy Ferris making the tackle, senior, former walk-on from Glens Ferry, Idaho, and he put a big hit on Romaine Smith. Smith, a freshman from Chief Sealth in Seattle, and Griffin Garski is in at quarterback now for Eastern Washington. Throw there, the sophomore from Meade High School in Spokane. Got a start in a couple of games and came in and has filled in for Leons when he's been injured as well at times. Garski running the attack now as the Eagles start to bring in more reserves off the bench. Grant Ellsworth also in the lineup at another wide receiver position, as is Marcus Pitts. And there is a look at Garski, the quarterback of the future, a guy who's got a great arm. He's completed better than 66% of his passes this year, and there won't be a big drop-off for Eastern Washington. Biggest thing this young man needs to do is just kind of pick up the system and let Harry Leons teach him some of the secrets of making the reads rather than forcing the ball a bit.
Boy, isn't he a good-looking kid just standing there? Nice size, good strong arm.
Originally started at Utah State in his collegiate career and then came back to Eastern Washington. His dad playing here. Throws that one just underneath Marcus Pitts as he tried to find him along the sidelines. Covered there by the cornerback, Joe Barnes. So the punt team will come on now for the Eagles. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the first time that we've seen Tom Zerflew today, I think. No, I take that back. They did down the one a little bit earlier, so I take that back. But he has been rather inactive today and has a man come flying in, but still gets that off. Zerflew, the number 2 punter in the conference, and a fair catch made at the 34-yard line by Bell. So the Bengals will have the ball there once again. There's a look at Zerflew, another in-state product, set a school record of 69 yards on a punt against Weber State earlier this year, and that was not wind aided. They're quick to point out for the senior from Eatonville. Don't forget, Fox Sports News comes your way weeknights at 6:30, a preview of the evening sporting events, and then at 10 o'clock a complete wrap-up of everything going on in the world of sports. Fox Sports News weeknights 6:30 and 10 here on Fox Sports Northwest. Well, we'll see what Kevin McCarthy does this time after he's had a little bit of time to talk with his head coach, Tom Walsh. Looking to go downfield for Ernst. 2 defenders there and nobody able to get to the ball. Ernst wants a flag, but I don't think he has a real good complaint about that one that time. And in fact, the back judge, I think, says he didn't have a shot at the ball either. Maurice Chambers and Julian Williams, both reserves, were on coverage for Eastern Washington this time, and we have come to the end of the 3rd quarter of play. Eastern Washington adds 21 more points on the board in the quarter, and they lead it with 15 to play. This is the Big Sky Conference game of the week. We start the fourth quarter. Idaho State with the ball and throwing a little swing pass out of the backfield. They'll get that out over the 40-yard line. Bruce Baird, the receiver on that one, a freshman from Montague, Idaho, originally a tight end. Yep, they're celebrating in style. Actually, it's not bad weather for late October in Cheney. You know?
No, it's a nice day for football. Fans are enjoying it.
Yeah, the most disappointed guy here was Tom Walsh. He said, I was hoping to get a mud bath and slow these guys down.
That's what he said.
He hasn't gotten a wish all day today, and
no.
His team is just trying to get something together. They've gone to a few reserves as well here to start the fourth quarter. McCarthy getting some time and then throws. That one's picked off. Greg Belzer with the interception, and he will score. Redshirt freshman from Chewelah, Washington. Don, it looked as though McCarthy had some time and the pocket was holding up, and then as he avoided the rush from Josh Martin, he put this one up for grabs in a lane. Well,
he did. It's tough. He moves a little bit to his left and is sliding back, but it's right in the hands of 44, the big... What a play by Eastern. They have made some big plays today. It's another one.
A moment that young man won't forget. And you notice he waited to get into the end zone before he started celebrating. So
he did that.
He's learned. Atwood on once again, and he makes it 48-0. This keeps up, I think you and I are going to have to go down and help reload. We're also going to have to get the backup gun crew out.
Run out of shells down there. Here's another look at the interception. 7-step drop to get a little more time. He has to scramble here under some pressure. Stepping back, the ball hangs in the air just a little too long, which causes the interception to be made.
Officially, they'll credit it as a 42-yard interception return for Belzer. And that is the 8th interception by Eastern Washington this season. First in the conference in rushing, passing, and total defense. And they'll lower their scoring defense probably as well, as they give up an average of 16.4 points per game. You see the numbers, and we mentioned Idaho State has really not been able to throw the ball all season long, but they're well below their average today. Eastern Washington, well, a little bit subpar on the passing side of things, as they average generally about 280 yards a game, but they really have not had to throw the ball much since early on in the first half. Atwood set to give it a ride once again. Whitworth and Bell back deep again for the Bengals. Whitworth, line driver, juggles it for a moment, trying to get back across and gets knocked down. A little bit of contact spinning him around, and Julian Williams, a sophomore from Mountain View High in Vancouver, Washington, was able to stop his momentum.
More times than not, Todd, you try to run laterally, you're not going to make much of a return out of it unless you have awfully good speed.
Eagles looking for their first shutout in a little over 10 years. The pressure incumbent upon the reserve defensive unit now to keep it so. McCarthy 3 for 8 passing for Idaho State, by the way, as he hands to Nikiasen on first down.
Eastern staying in that 4-man front, playing the zone behind it too deep, Todd. And they're going to give the short pass away, perhaps, and even some of the shorter runs, but are going to try to protect from the deeper things, the big strikes.
I'll tell you what, the quarterbacks at Idaho State are going to be able to learn from a pretty good one as well, as one of the assistant coaches on Tom Walsh's staff, former Washington quarterback Tom Porras, in charge of that department of the Bengal attack.
Oh, he was a good one.
Spent some time up north of the border as well, as did the wide receivers coach David Williams a stand out at Illinois and a former Shenley Award winner for the MVP in the Canadian Football League. So, as you said before, a pretty good staff that Tom Walsh has put together here in Pocatello. Now they go out and bring the recruits in, start to get their kids in and get this program turned around.
That's the first down.
Down in Berkeley, UCLA continuing to run as they lead California. Bears coming back a little bit. Starting the second half now in Pullman. The undefeated Cougars still trailing the Arizona Wildcats. Bringing the chain out now to check and see whether that run by Elgon was good enough for a first down.
You have to say this about this Idaho State crew. They're not giving up. I know Coach was disappointed as he commented at halftime, but I really believe they're scrapping and they're playing hard, and they just don't have enough players right now to compete against an Eastern Washington.
Yeah, and they just don't have a lot of healthy bodies either. They've had a lot of kids banged up, and as we said before, Tom Walsh was kind of surprised as another player gets helped off the field injured. Now that's the starting center, Jim Corder. He was just really surprised to see how many things that are normally part of a program were not in place in Pocatello. As we said, lifting, study tables, checking on academics, and so on. And then some other kids played their way out of Pocatello or performed their way out of Pocatello off the field as well. And it was a little disheartening, but I think he'll get things turned around again. It's going to take a little bit of time. Second effort there by McCarthy should be enough to get the first down for ISU.
There you go. Where the kid is at?
Will mark it at a first down at the 37-yard line now for Idaho State. And a question, this one's going to the professor here. Again, you can drop your questions on the web at www.bigskyconf.com. Any predictions about tonight's Montana-Northern Arizona game, Professor?
Boy, you're putting me on the spot. Let me think about that one.
I'll
get right back at you.
Okay, I'll let you buy a play. McCarthy, right off the hands of Elgon. Good looking pass that time, but Anthony, and I would not blame him, was turning upfield to try and see how many guys in red were bearing down on him.
Well, certainly that's going to be a very, very important game for the Big Sky Conference. Two really fine football teams. Northern Arizona having the home court advantage. Montana coming off a loss. It's going to be a close ball game. One real hard for me to comment really is, Todd. It's going to be a tough ball game, no question about it.
Bruce Baird carrying the ball for ISU. He'll pick up the first down. Freshman at West Jefferson High School in Monteview, Idaho originally. Ran for over 1,400 yards as a senior in high school. Conference standings going into today's play. Eastern Washington with that half-game lead. The winner of that NAU-Montana game will keep pace in the loss column. And Montana State, of course, hoping to be up there as well as they travel to Portland to take on the Vikings later tonight. First down for the Bengals at the 47-yard line. Nikiasen bounces off his own lineman, tries to tuck it outside, and he'll be wrapped up for a loss there. Brad Packer on the tackle, another freshman from the Vancouver, Washington area, this time from Fort Vancouver High School, and he makes the stop.
Todd, just to add a little more to the answer, the poor answer on my part. You know, Coach Kramer, the Eastern Washington coach, said Montana will not lose another game. So I'll use his answer as my answer in that.
Washington State on the board. The Cougars getting another touchdown to lock things up with Arizona. That one in the third quarter.
Boy, that must be a heck of a game.
McCarthy with some time. It's those little hesitations that are kind of getting him in trouble. That one underthrown a little bit to McBride, but he nearly got popped once again. That time Jeff Allen was bearing down on him as you get a look at Kevin McCarthy. Now 3 for 10 passing. He's thrown for 39 yards offensively, but 42 yards the other way on the interception. But again, as we said, he had not completed a pass coming into today, so gets some of those in the column now. But he faces a third and long situation once again. under some pressure, spins away from a couple, but then gets dropped in the backfield. Lost the yardage. David Alcala, freshman from Quincy, Washington, on the tackle.
Here's the play again. He's off that 5-step drop. Has to avoid some pressure. Actually tucks the ball away, gets away from some pressure, but not enough.
Simpson on to punt. Correa and Perigo back deep. Left that one a little bit shorter than he'd care to. Perigo signals fair catch, and again has to get around his own teammate that time a little bit. They'll spot the ball right at the 30-yard line. Eastern Washington trying to close out a shutout. The reserves in on offense. Still try to get the ball moving again when we return to Woodward Stadium after this timeout. Welcome back to Fox Sports Northwest, your region of Fox Sports Net. Today's coverage of Big Sky Conference football comes your way from Cheney, Washington. The Eastern Washington Eagles leading the Bengals of Idaho State University. Griffin Garski back out at quarterback once again for Eastern Washington. Capoletti, the ball carrier. Ball squirts loose, and it's picked up. Idaho State could get on the board. 10-5, and the Bengals are in the end zone. Fumble recovery. Kylie McCray with the touchdown for Idaho State. Looked as though a helmet knocked that one loose, Don, and McCray was able to pick it up. Young man who started his career at Temple University, then transferred back out, and he gets Idaho State on the board. So some saving grace there and some smiles along the Bengals sideline.
Siding on that sideline, you bet. Here's the play now. Here's the fumble right here. It was a helmet. I'm sure the ball's loose laying there. Picked up, and it's going to be an easy touchdown. A convoy right there.
So both defenses get some points on the board. Cy Ferris was the man who made the hit to knock the ball loose. And the point after touchdown is good. And Idaho State gets the round number off the board. There's a look again at Kylie McCray, junior Olympic swimmer and also a black belt in the martial art of Thai Budokan.
Here's the play again, and here's the turnover right there.
Pick up the gift, get a couple blocks. Ferris provides the downfield block for him to clear the last guy, and an escort as well. If you'd run with your head turned forward, son, you'd get to the end zone quicker. He doesn't care. He got on the board, got the touchdown.
He is happy.
Yep, and the defense puts the points on the board for Idaho State. I think they're counting to make sure they got 11.
There's some confusion down there.
They are taking a little bit of time. They're trying to get the unit organized just a little bit.
They're not used to kicking off very often.
Interesting, too, Idaho State has had the ball about 5 minutes more in this game than Eastern Washington, but that has been the case for much of the season for the Eagles. The opposing teams have the ball more. They just don't tally more points. This Eastern team is averaging 35 points a game, rather, and they've gone over that today. There's the time of possession we were talking about. Idaho State with 5.5 minutes more of ball time than Eastern Washington. Let's see if they try anything funny at all. Nope, they're going to just go for their line drive version now. Up man taking that for Eastern Washington. Flag thrown into the pile as he goes down at about the 40-yard line. Brian Detheridge hauled down there.
Another penalty in the kicking game in the return part, I'm sure, Todd. It happens so often.
Tom Walsh watches the officials back that one up.
On the return, there was a hold by the return team. 10-yard penalty from the end of the run. First down.
A little less than 10 minutes to play here in the fourth quarter, and Eastern will go back to work once again. Garski in at quarterback, Ellsworth at one wide receiver, Pitts the other. Flag thrown on this one. Garski with the pass, the juggle catch by Adam Keller, sophomore from Mukilteo, but again a flag thrown on that play. I think they
lined up.
Yeah, caught the illegal shift. Nick Freeze is in the backfield for Eastern Washington as well at the running back spot. Freshman from Kamiakin High in Kennewick.
Illegal motion.
Garski threw a rope, didn't he, though, Todd? He has a strong arm.
First and 15.
He does throw those bullets, that's for sure. Some of the accomplishments thus far. Well, they had Rex Prescott at 201 earlier. Now he's at 171. Leon's with a pretty good day passing as he completes over 70% of his tosses for better than 200 yards. Ogden another ho-hum, 150-yard day in the score. And Eastern closing in on 500 yards of total offense, depending on what they do down the stretch here. And another big hole along the right side. They just keep blocking, keep opening the holes, and Freeze is able to take that one for positive yardage.
Here's a look again, Todd. It doesn't seem to make any difference who's carrying the football. That Eastern front moves that line of scrimmage, and regardless who's got the football, big yardage occurs. Big gain for Eastern.
Freeze with 25 carries for 144 yards coming into today. Guess when he's in the lineup, you know that Eastern has the ball in the deep freeze, or the game in the deep freeze. And Garski's going to take a timeout here as the Eagles were out of alignment a bit. We will step aside as well. 8 minutes and 40 seconds left to play in the fourth quarter. It's Eastern Washington 48, Idaho State 7 on Fox Sports Northwest. Back in Cheney, Todd Pickett along with Don Reed in Eastern Washington on top of Idaho State as the Eagles will stay on top of the Big Sky Conference pack. I was talking with Mike Kramer before the game and said, you know, if you come out of this one with a win, isn't it interesting that all of a sudden what used to be the grudge match with Idaho doesn't seem to be as important a contest anymore now that it's just a non-league game. Freeze carrying through the pack, and he could go. Pretty good speed for this young man. He's brought down by Ferris at the 20-yard line, and another nice open field tackle by Cy Ferris, but Freeze tucks that one for better than 40 yards.
You know, the most interesting thing that Eastern's doing now, Todd, they ran a lot of two tight ends in the first half. Here's the play again. Now they're in a spread formation, running the same plays, but from a wider. Here's the backside pulling. But what a fine run that is by Freeze behind the power blocking of those linemen. But my point is, from different formations, they're doing the same thing. I think the idea here is to run the football, but try to spread the field a little more.
You don't think those backup guys like getting their licks as well? You saw David Andrus, a junior from Pasco, Aaron White, a junior from here in Cheney, leading the way on that 41-yard carry, and they go to Freeze again. Kind of lost his balance that time as he tried to tuck it to the outside.
Had a lot of room to run again. Ran into his own blocker. They're getting gaping holes in that front. Just doing a magnificent job of moving the line of scrimmage. And speaking, of course, of this Eastern front, they are just really solid. And they've got a lot of reserves in there now, Todd.
309 yards rushing for the Eagles now. Gone over the 500-yard mark in total offense once again. Garski put that one behind Ballou, and a little fortunate that it didn't get picked off there as Ferris provided the coverage for Idaho State.
Ferris made a great play on that, leaving his feet to get his right hand on the ball and batting it away. A great play on the part of Ferris.
Ferris isn't taking a day off. Meanwhile, Mike Kramer kind of watching his team and like to play a little running clock right now, I think, as Garski continues on in reserve. And this is an evaluation time for a coach when you've got this margin. You're looking at your guys in game situations.
It's a good situation for him. He can play a lot of kids, keeps morale up. I'm sure he's really happy at this point in time, the way things are going.
Little draw for Freeze, trying to get away from the guys in the white shirts, and gets dropped. Guess who? Ferris there once again, about the 17-yard line. And that'll bring on Josh Atwood.
Freeze makes a nice move there to the outside. He's got good vision. If it's not there, he just breaks outside and strings it out.
Atwood looking for his third field goal of the day. Has them from 24 and 26 in the first half. This one will be from 34 yards out. And he converts it. So the Eagles over the 50-point mark. All in all, a pretty good day for Eastern Washington. And Don, as we said before, that Idaho game next week for the Eagles, and then they'll travel down to Flagstaff to face Northern Arizona. Then they'll get Cal State Northridge up here in mid-November in Cheney. That one seems kind of a favorable matchup on paper for Eastern Washington.
I think they've got a good schedule. I think the momentum is going. You know, they're coming off a big win here. Idaho will be tough for them, but it's not a conference ball game. I think they've got a good schedule. A better schedule, let's say, than Montana does, because Montana has to go not only down to Northern Arizona, but they've got Weber at home, and they've got to travel to Montana State for their ending season game.
Update from, about 75 miles or so down the road at Martin Stadium. Arizona has gotten on the board in the third quarter now. And the Wildcats lead the Washington State Cougars 28-21 as Washington State tries to stay on top of the Pac-10. And I guess if there's one thing that's been a little frustrating for Mike Kramer and the Eagles out of all the years when they're having great success and you'd normally be the lead story in the sports section, your Pac-10 team down the road decides to get off to its best start in many years as well. Good overall for the whole area, but tough when you'd like to get a little bit more publicity. And the Eagles have been a very dominant team in the Big Sky so far this year. Whitworth returning the kick, slips a little bit down at the 20-yard line. Took a bit of a late pop as well, but he appears to be okay. More chagrin than anything else as you see Whitworth picking himself up. Well, no, he does appear to be a little bit rattled here, so
Ted, I think
take a look at that freshman from McKay. And another question in at www.bigskyconf.com. When was the last time the Grizz lost back-to-back games?
About 3 or 4 years ago, they lost to Boise State and Idaho State back-to-back. I think it was in '94.
Yeah, anyone you know, you get shed some more light on that one? Or? Glad you had the answer to that. The season ended up all right, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's important thing to know. Starting to get a little chilly here out in Cheney. It's been a nice afternoon once again. Skies have remained fairly clear, although the clouds a little bit heavier here over Woodward Stadium than when we started the game. It is not particularly fun when you're banged up, not feeling good. It gets cold and in the bones, and your team's getting beat pretty bad as well. That's kind of the way it feels on the Idaho State sidelines right now. Whitworth still being attended to as well by the ISU staff. Right now they're just kind of cobbling it together. The running room to the outside for Nikiasen, and he will take it out to midfield. Took on Franklin, the right cornerback, head on and drove him back and gained about another 5 yards or so.
He had a lot of room to run, Todd, and he can run. Here's the play again. Starting inside, breaking to the outside. There's just nothing there. The contain is gone. It's all up to secondary. What a good run that was.
Blake Ferris is in as a wide receiver for Idaho State. You see him there, number 16 in the replay. He's at the top of your screen now. Ferris, a freshman from Glens Ferry, Idaho, Sid's brother. or rather, excuse me, Cy's brother. Cy playing out in the secondary and has made a few tackles there the last couple times down on defense for the Bengals. In fact, he's being wrapped up now on the Bengals sideline. They're taping him up so he can get back in.
Boy, they have a lot of kids bruised in this game. Of course, Eastern Washington is very, very physical. I know Montana felt the effects of Eastern last week in a physical game and felt they were out physical by Eastern.
Yeah, they always say fly like an eagle. It's the first time folks have gotten hammered by an eagle instead. They are doing just that. From the 48, McCarthy looking long. Little lock up there, and finally the swat away. That was about a 50-50 so far as the guys hanging on to one another. Maurice Chambers was the man providing coverage that time for Eastern Washington.
Well, there's definitely some pushing and shoving, but it's hard to detect who's at fault here. The ball's in the air. Both individuals are trying to free themselves to get to the ball. It's a nice play, actually. Ball underthrown slightly.
Rob Heisevelt was the intended receiver on the play for Idaho State. Excuse me, Hoosevelt, freshman from Soda Springs, Idaho. Had to look him up in the book there real quick because he was nowhere to be found on our list before. Little delay here to Nikiasen. And he'll be very close to first down yardage. He'll spot him actually for the first down now at about the 38-yard line. And Kennedy Nikiasen picking himself back up off the turf once again.
He's played hard and had a good ball game, you know. And that was a nice play, by the way, out of shotgun formation. A little counter to the throwing out of gun.
Well, Tom Walsh thought that he might go to shotgun a little bit more today, and then the Bengals have elected not to do that.
I would not be surprised as the season winds down to see Idaho State doing a lot more shotgun type formation work.
Baird the up back blocking now in front of Nikiasen. Kennedy will get the call once again. Bounces off of a couple of DBs, and they kind of combine up and finally swarm on top of him. Claude Jean-Baptiste, a redshirt freshman from Tacoma, along with Maurice Chambers, sophomore from Spanaway, making the tackle for Eastern Washington. Nikiasen now 14 carries for 53 yards for Idaho State, and he'll take a breather finally now, along with Gerald Franks. They'll both come out of the lineup for ISU.
He's earned every one of those yards too, Todd. He's a hard-running kid, and really just tried to make something happen every time he's had his hands on the ball.
Trips to the right now for ISU on this second down. McCarthy is trying to buy some time with the rollout. Pursued to the corner, throws back, and that one down into the ground as he tried to get it on the run to Hoosevelt that time.
I believe that was a design sprint out of shotgun formation, which is unusual. And Eastern Washington not seeing this kind of formation, I'm sure, practiced against it, lost contain for a minute, but their pursuit caught up.
Yeah, pretty speedy pursuit as well along the outside there for Eastern Washington. Seth Wagenblast, a sophomore from Yakima's West Valley High School, was busy chasing McCarthy down. Another couple steps, it would have been lights out for the quarterback. Need to get this one to the 28 to continue the drive. Under pressure, throws again, a little bit too tall. Tough throw that time as he was really backpedaling, trying to find Brian Deathridge, and under pressure from Jonas DeWeber, junior from Kennewick, who was into the backfield there against McCarthy, and I'm sure the Bengals will go ahead and go for it here. Ball again at the 35, and as we said, they need to get to the Eastern 28 to keep her going. Whitworth lined up in the backfield. A little bit different look here as he's in with Bart Baird. Frank's the motion man. Little circle route now behind Whitworth, and Eastern Washington will take over. It's been one of the better routes for him today, but he just put that one behind instead of laying it out in stride for his back. Eastern Washington will take over on downs. We'll come back to Cheney after this timeout on the Big Sky Conference Game of the Week. Part of the rolling hills entering into the Palouse country of Eastern Washington, and part of the crowd trying to stay warm They'll have a victory bonfire going tonight to help keep them warm, I think. It's been a big homecoming day for the Eastern Washington Eagles. Garski and the reserves in. Well, third quarterback into the lineup now as Freeze carries the ball, and Chris Sams is at quarterback, a freshman from Kent Meridian High School in Kent, Washington. 6'1", 185 freshman. And I wouldn't be surprised that's probably the first snap that he has taken all year.
Eastern continues to move the football via the ground. They haven't thrown the football in a while, and they haven't needed to throw the football in a while.
That one spotted out about the 45-yard line. Well, Sams hasn't attempted a pass at least, and as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the first time he's taken a snap, but can't tell for sure. Freeze stacked up short. Time now for our United Dairymen of Idaho player of the game. As you look along the Eastern Washington sidelines, they're relaxing a little bit. And our player of the game selected today will be Jeff Ogden, senior wide receiver from Snohomish, Washington. 7 catches for 147 yards and this 77-yard touchdown. Our player of the game, sponsored by the United Dairymen of Idaho.
What a player he is, Todd. Congratulations to him.
He was the National 1AA Player of the Week last week, so the honors continue to pile up for Ogden. Freeze tucking the ball well. I like the way how he just kind of cradled that ball and hung on to it. And again, another Bengal appears to be shaken up a little bit, slow getting up. Michael Gary, who led the tacklers, he had some help from Pete Beecher.
Guys, watch the hands getting up in here.
Inside of 2 minutes now, and you see the look of Harry Leons. He's guided the Eagles to 10 wins, and he has the last 11 starts as the quarterback. The only loss when he was knocked out of the game against Montana State with a concussion, and the Eagles dropped that one by a 1-point margin to the Montana State Bobcats. Whistles before that snap. Now 549 yards of offense now against Eastern Washington, and a delay of game call that time against the Eagles.
You know, they had over 600 last week. They're used to making a lot of yards. They use the clock and they just wear the grass out.
Idaho State back home next week. They will entertain Northern Arizona. Then they'll close out the season traveling to Northridge, hosting Portland State, and then they'll finish up at Weber State. Game we'll have for you here on Fox Sports Northwest November 22nd. Freeze carrying it once again. This guy's looked pretty sharp here in a mop-up roll, Don.
He really has. You know, he knows where the goal line is. He's always running toward it. I say again, though, Todd, and we've made this point many times in this game, that offensive front of Eastern helps those running backs. They're good. There's no question about the quality of the running backs here at Eastern, but that front is really good.
Well, Mike Kramer was closing in on the 500 mark in a hurry here. He'll go to 20-21 overall, but he's done it with a 7-1 start this season, and these Eagles are as advertised. Freeze one more time out to midfield.
You just can't say enough about this Eastern program. Mike Kramer, what a job he's done here, and the staff. Congratulations to them. Todd, you just have to admire the way they've done it. Just every year getting better and better. This is a fine football team.
Well, they held up the spot just long enough that the Eagles will not have to snap the ball again, and they will take the hats off and wrap it up. The 11th ranked Eastern Eagles go to 7-1 overall, 5-1 in the Big Sky Conference, as Mike Kramer and the Eagles beat Idaho State by a score of 51-7. One more time, guys. There we go. Had to get that one in one more time. The Eagles stay on top of the Big Sky Conference race. Don't forget, we will return in 2 weeks with the Big Sky Conference Game of the Week. The Eagles win it today, 51-7 over Idaho State. Our next game comes from Civic Stadium in Portland, Oregon. 7 o'clock, November the 8th. The Vikings and the Montana Grizzlies. We hope you'll join us then for live Big Sky football on Fox Sports Northwest. That'll wrap things up today from Cheney. Our producer, John Bradford, director, Brian Murray, along with Don Reed on Todd Pickett. Thanks for joining us. Eastern over Idaho State 51-7. Until 2 weeks from Portland, so long, everybody.